Sirius Black, wait. What's going on? Regulus Black, what are you going to do? Regulus Black is dead, and many people know about it. However, no one knows why he died. Even Voldemort, the person involved, doesn't know what happened. He just feels that something is wrong, but he has no evidence. Regulus Black, I can't believe that my story can be put on the light screen. This really? James Potter, what is it really, you tell me. Then, Regulus stopped talking. Anyway, the light screen should be played in a while, so why should he say these useless things? Regulus disappeared, no one knew where he went, everyone thought he was dead, even Voldemort thought so. After all, it is not strange for a Death Eater to die in any corner. But a month later, two figures came to the cave. Creaker brought Regulus here, and he saw Regulus take out an identical locket from his arms. Creaker, wait until I finish drinking the potion, and then you swap this box with the real one inside, and then go back immediately. Don't tell anyone. Tom Riddle, are you crazy? Regulus. Answer me, Regulus. What are you going to do? Regulus Black, ha ha ha. Can't you guess what I'm going to do? Voldemort. Ha ha ha. Happy, happier than ever. He wanted to do this a long time ago, but he never had such an opportunity during his lifetime. Unexpectedly, he had the opportunity to mock Voldemort in person after his death. Beside Zhang Dong, Dumbledore actually turned his head and looked at Zhang Dong. Looking at Dumbledore's eyes, Zhang Dong looked at him blankly. Why are you looking at me like that? Ahem. Dumbledore coughed, and then said awkwardly but firmly, I want to say that if you need to drink medicine later, I can come. You. Zhang Dong was suddenly a little touched. If nothing else, the old man really loves his students. When he went with Harry, he also drank the despair potion himself. But Zhang Dong shook his head and said, no need, we don't need to drink the potion this time. Hearing what Zhang Dong said, Dumbledore raised his head and continued to look at the light curtain. Creaker took the locket and nodded solemnly. And Regulus also smiled, then filled the cup with potion and drank it all. Buzz. The moment the potion entered his stomach, Regulus became dazed. He struggled and cried, but it was useless. That was Voldemort's potion, and no one could escape its invasion. Erosion. And this was not the end. As Regulus drank the potion, one after another Inferi crawled out from the water, and they all rushed towards Regulus. Creaker immediately protected Regulus, but he heard Regulus' voice. Go, do as I say. Creaker turned his head to look at his master, and then turned his head to look at the Inferi that rushed over. He finally chose to obey his master's order. Creaker quickly turned back to exchange the fake locket in his hand with the real locket. He immediately turned back and wanted to take his master away, but when he turned around, Regulus had been pulled into the water by the sea of Inferi and never came out again. Creaker could only take the real locket and leave here with a change of shape, and the man named Regulus stayed there forever. He died there so lonely. No one knows. Tom Riddle, Regulus. You actually betrayed me. Regulus Black, you betrayed us. Voldemort. Regulus responded to Voldemort fearlessly. The moment he decided to steal the locket, he had already stood on the opposite side of Voldemort. Narcissa Malfoy, it's okay that you betrayed Voldemort, but the point is that you actually drank the potion yourself and let the house elf take the locket away. What were you thinking? Why didn't you let Creaker drink the potion? And you took the locket away. Regulus Black, sister. Creaker's life is also a life. Narcissa Malfoy, what did you say? The life of a house elf is also a life. Narcissa was so angry. She just found out how Regulus died. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. She felt nothing about betraying Voldemort, but you actually risked your life to backstab Voldemort. Isn't that a fool? Regulus didn't think so at all. He realized Voldemort's meanness when he asked Creaker to do the experiment. If he also asked Creaker to die, what was the difference between him and Voldemort? The video did not end here. The picture gradually condensed and finally condensed in the fake locket made by Regulus. Inside the locket, a letter appeared in front of everyone. To the Dark Lord. I know that I will be dead when you read this letter, but I want you to know, I discovered your secret, I have taken the real Horcrux and destroyed it as soon as possible. I am willing to die for you, who is just a mortal with flesh and blood when you meet your destined opponent. RAB. The scene changes, and time seems to have gone back to the past. When the boy named Regulus saw his brother posting photos of bikini beauties on the wall above his bed, he quietly returned to his bedroom. Then he wrote the 4 words he had always followed, forever pure. Tom Riddle, Regulus. Regulus. You betrayed me. You dare to mock me. Just wait. Just wait. Voldemort was so angry. He didn't expect that his foolproof arrangement failed to trap Voldemort, but was stolen by a guy he didn't take seriously. He even wrote a letter to mock him. He swore. If the dead could attack each other, he would torture him with the Cruciatus curse 1,000 times. No. 10,000 times. But unfortunately, he couldn't do anything at the moment. What else could he do except being furious? Regulus laughed happily at Voldemort's comments. Looking at Voldemort's furious look, isn't this exactly what he wanted to see? Creaker, Master. Creaker finally couldn't help it. He wanted to tell his master that he had carried out his master's orders, that he had returned home safely, and that he had protected the locket very well, so that no one could find it. It's just that, he would rather he was the one who died that year. Regulus also responded gently, Creaker, long time no see, are you okay? Creaker, my good master, very good. Sirius Black, I'm sorry Regulus. Regulus Black, why do you want to apologize to me? Sirius Black, that. I have said bad things about you to James and the others more than once, but now I take it back. You are a true hero. Perhaps the Sorting Hat sorted you into the wrong place, 760 back then, you should come to Gryffindor with me. Regulus Black, I don't think so. Bravery is a Gryffindor trait, but it is not only a Gryffindor trait. A true Slytherin is one who does not hide his ambition, pride, and obsession. Yes, we are often despised for doing whatever it takes, but it is precisely this kind of unscrupulousness that allows us to disregard morality and fear life and death. Phineas Black, well said. Regulus, I am proud of you. Haha, you did not let us down. Black family bloodline. Albus Dumbledore, that's right, idiot. Crybaby. Dregs. Twist. Haha, just kidding. A true Slytherin is only proud of his noble bloodline, but has no contempt for humble life. Regulus, I will apply for a Merlin First Class Medal for you as a recipient of the Order of Merlin First Class Medal. I hope this belated honor can give you some comfort. Cornely Fudge, yes, I can also apply for you jointly with Albus, no need to thank me this is the honor you deserve. Regulus Black, the Order of Merlin is of no use to me. I just want you to take good care of Creaker for me. Albus Dumbledore, of course, I promise you in the name of Dumbledore. Regulus Black, that's good. By the way, Sirius Black, after I die, the Black family should be inherited by you. Don't bully Creaker, I know you don't like him very much. Looking at Regulus' words, Sirius was embarrassed. Indeed, he inherited the Black family. But the problem is that he was imprisoned in Azkaban without spending a penny of the Black family's money, and now he finally escaped. If I go back to the Black family now, wouldn't that be a trap for me? Seeing that Sirius didn't reply for a long time, Zhang Dong also knew that he would definitely not show up again, so Zhang Dong turned off the light curtain. Your video successfully popularized the character Regulus Black and you can get rewards, Patronus Charm, Ultimate Guardian God. Nemean Lion. The Patronus is the ultimate. Zhang Dong looked at his reward in surprise. Wait. Does Regulus know the Patronus? The book doesn't say that. However, what is the Nemean Lion? Zhang Dong began to recall, and after a long time, he finally remembered what it was. In ancient Greek mythology, there are 2 legendary beasts named Eutelsis and Chimera, who gave birth to a male lion named Nemea. It dominated the area and killed the people, but because this male lion was invulnerable to swords and guns, water and fire, no one could do anything to it. Finally, a great hero named Hercules appeared in ancient Greece. He found Nemea when he completed the first trial of the 12 trials, but his sword, axe, and arrows could not hurt Nemea. But the hero is worthy of being a hero. He strangled the lion with brute force and completed the trial. After Nemea died, he rose into the sky and turned into the Leo constellation of the zodiac. Regulus' name is taken from Leo, so it's not strange, it's not strange. What are you mumbling about? Albus looked at Zhang Dong beside him curiously. To read the exciting novel, go to FaluNovel Network. Zhang Dong finally reacted and said, "Oh, nothing, we are here." "Well, we are here, let's go down." Dumbledore nodded, and then took Zhang Dong to the Black Mansion. Bang bang bang! Dumbledore knocked on the door of the Black family gently. After a long time, the door that had not been opened for more than 10 years finally opened. A small figure poked his head out of the door. It was the elf of the Black family, Creaker. Looking at this house elf, Dumbledore also showed a gentle smile and said, "Hello Creaker, we are friends of Regulus, and we are glad to meet you." Friends of the Master? The Master never said that he was friends with the headmaster of Hogwarts, Dumbledore. Creaker glanced at Dumbledore. How could he not know Dumbledore? Or it can be said that in the whole of England, as long as there are intelligent creatures, there is no creature that does not know Dumbledore. Even if it is his master Regulus, he will respectfully say, "Hello, headmaster." Creaker opened the door and led the two into the mansion. He poured a cup of coffee for Zhang Dong and Dumbledore, but did not pour a cup for himself. Although Regulus is dead, he has been taking care of this house for these years, just like he served Regulus. Dumbledore took a sip of coffee in the cup before telling his purpose. 0.6 Creaker, I think you should have guessed the purpose of our coming here. If you don't mind, can you give me Voldemort's Horcrux? It's probably not a good thing to keep it in your hands. The house elf was just a little silly, they are not stupid, Dumbledore believes that Creaker will understand what he means. However, Creaker suddenly became irritable. He looked at Dumbledore in front of him, not caring about his noble status and powerful strength. He said firmly, "Impossible. Creaker will never give it to anyone. It is something left by the Master. I will never hand it over before the Master's new order is issued." Okay, the house elves are not stupid, but they are really stubborn. Creaker said that he would never hand over Slytherin's locket, even though he knew that Dumbledore in front of him was Voldemort's greatest enemy. Dumbledore was also helpless. He looked deeply at Creaker in front of him. However, Creaker suddenly began to hold his head and banged against the wall on one side, shouting while banging, "Don't try to use legilimency to see my thoughts. Even if I die, I will not betray my master." Looking at Creaker's appearance, Zhang Dong on the side didn't know what to say. He even wondered if he had recognized the wrong person. "Hey, you are Creaker, not Cobby." Dumbledore looked at Zhang Dong helplessly. Of course he had a way. With his legilimency level, as long as he wanted to see Creaker's memory, he would never be able to resist. But not everyone can have the top brain occlusion like Snape. But that was not a good idea after all, especially since Regulus had just asked them to take good care of Creaker. If he turned around and bullied him, it would be embarrassing to tell others about it. But if it really didn't work, he would still use a little bit of coercion. After all, he still knew the priorities. "Zhang Dong, do you think there is such a possibility?" Dumbledore suddenly said. The light curtain happened to appear at this time. Regulus happened to bubble up at this time. He happened to trust me more and was willing to let Creaker hand over Voldemort's Horcrux to me. Zhang Dong. Isn't this a coincidence? Zhang Dong rolled his eyes helplessly at old Dumbledore, and then he looked at Creaker and asked, "What if I am willing to resurrect your master?" "What did you say?" Creaker looked at Zhang Dong in front of him in disbelief. "Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Don't try to deceive me. I'm not that easy to be deceived. Even the resurrection of a person like Voldemort is so troublesome, how could this Zhang Dong have such ability?" And Dumbledore on the side also stood up. He knew that he needed to come forward at this time. "Creaker, I assure you in the name of Dumbledore that we do have the ability. Why don't you resurrect your parents if you have the ability?" Dumbledore. Old Dumbledore suddenly wanted to curse. Zhang Dong on the side smiled. Although he had 100 resurrection quotas, he could not resurrect anyone casually. Except for Zhang's father, Zhang's mother, Zhang Qiu, and Hermione, he would only help those he admired. However, he did admire Regulus. "It seems that you don't believe it, but I don't mind. Just tell me whether you are willing or not." Zhang Dong just looked at Creaker, and looking at Zhang Dong's eyes, Creaker hesitated. He thought of his master, the most gentle, purest, and best master in the world. If he could really be resurrected, he would do it himself. "I am willing to do anything." Thinking of this, Creaker nodded silently. Zhang Dong smiled, and he knew Creaker would not refuse. So, he took out a small piece of magic resurrection stone. He threw the magic resurrection stone to the ground, and the next second, the resurrection stone continued to expand and change. Then, a handsome black-haired young man appeared in front of the three people. Kreaker's eyes were wide, and his body couldn't help but tremble. Master! Master! He would never admit his mistake. Although 20 years have passed. But he has never forgotten the appearance of his master. He couldn't help but want to pounce on him, but Zhang Dong stopped him. Don't worry, there is still the most important step that has not been completed. Buzz! At the moment when Zhang Dong's voice fell, a ghost slowly emerged in the void. That was the soul of Regulus. Seeing that soul, Kreaker finally believed Zhang Dong's words. The body can be faked with magic, but the soul absolutely cannot. Even in the magical wizarding world, there is no magic that can change the soul. As powerful as Voldemort is, he has to split his soul to make a Horcrux. Zhang Dong waved his hand, and Regulus's soul silently floated into Regulus's body. 3, 2, 1. Regulus Black. To read the exciting novels, go to FaluNovel Network. After 20 years, he finally opened his eyes again. This is... Regulus sat up, he kept looking around, and then set his sights on the three people present. Headmaster Dumbledore. Kreaker. Master. Kreaker finally couldn't help but run over. He rushed to Regulus. He stretched out his hand to hug Regulus, but he was a little afraid and stopped. Seeing Kreaker like this, Regulus smiled gently and gave him a big hug. Long time no see, Kreaker. Master. Feeling the warmth he hadn't felt for a long time, Kreaker finally couldn't control his emotions. This old elf couldn't help but shed tears at this time. Regulus let go of the arm that was hugging Kreaker, touched his head, and then stood up from the ground. And Kreaker also quickly took out a set of clean clothes from the cabinet and put them on Regulus. Regulus put on his clothes neatly, then bowed elegantly to Dumbledore and said, "Although I don't know what means you used to resurrect me, thank you very much, Headmaster Dumbledore 923. Dumbledore slightly turned his body to avoid his bow, he gently patted Zhang Dong's shoulder and said, "Don't thank me, I don't have such ability. If you want to thank someone, thank him." Him. Regulus looked at Zhang Dong with wide eyes. He could never have imagined that the person who resurrected himself with this magical method. It turned out to be this boy in front of him who was at most 15 years old. This can't be blamed on him. After all, among the three people present, anyone would think that Dumbledore was the one who resurrected him. He couldn't help but look at Zhang Dong a few more times, and then said to Kreaker, "Kreaker, bring Slytherin's locket here." "Yes, Master." Kreaker left without saying a word this time, and when he appeared again, he had a gorgeously decorated locket in his hand. Regulus picked up the locket, then walked in front of Zhang Dong and said, "You two resurrected me for this, right?" Regulus didn't think he was so valuable that Zhang Dong and Dumbledore could resurrect him. Think about the light curtain just now, and there is no need to say more about what these two want. Looking at Regulus, who was so sensible, Zhang Dong also silently took the locket from him. Voldemort's Horcrux, Slytherin's locket, got it. Zhang Dong put away Slytherin's locket. Regulus is a smart man, and it is really easy to chat with smart people. After getting what they need, Zhang Dong and Dumbledore naturally prepared to say goodbye and leave. Since the matter is over, let's say goodbye first. Dumbledore on the side also nodded, but before he was about to leave, he did not forget to remind Regulus, "I hope you don't let too many people know about your resurrection in advance. I think you should understand what I mean." "Of course." Regulus nodded. Resurrection is a coveted ability no matter where it is. Although it can be seen from the previous light screen that Zhang Dong's strength is definitely not weaker than that of top wizards like Snape. However, people cannot always guarantee rationality. In the face of desire, not many people can keep their original intentions. Even Dumbledore was tricked by Voldemort because of his desire, let alone others. Especially since Zhang Dong seems to be only 13 years old. By the way, can I ask, when can I come out to meet people? I can't stay at the Black family for the rest of my life. Although this is my home, it's still a bit boring to stay here all the time. Of course not. Dumbledore smiled and pointed at Zhang Dong, "When he completely surpasses me, you can come out." "Hey? How long will it take? 10 years? 20 years? Or 50 years? Dumbledore is a legend in the wizarding world. It sounds like an impossible thing to surpass him in 50 years. Zhang Dong rolled his eyes and stretched out a finger helplessly. Seeing Zhang Dong's finger, Regulus couldn't help asking, "You mean, 100 years? Do you look down on me so much?" "Haha, just kidding. Isn't it just 10 years? That's fine. Just prepare more polyjuice potion." "1 year." Zhang Dong said lightly. "What?" Regulus was stunned, he even doubted his ears. 1 year. Does he know what he is talking about? 1 year. 4th grade. 14 years old. Surpassing Dumbledore. What a concept. He became the best in England before he was an adult. Even the best in the world. Regulus used to think that Voldemort was crazy enough, but now, he suddenly found that he seemed to have seen someone even crazier. But, thinking about his resurrected self, he suddenly felt that this didn't seem to be an exaggeration. Zhang Dong didn't say anything else, and left here with Dumbledore. He felt that he was still modest when he said 1 year. If he dueled with Dumbledore, and added all kinds of weird abilities, it was not certain who would die in the end. Of course, it mainly depends on whether Dumbledore can master the 12 top attack spells. After all, Zhang Dong has 12 trials, which is equivalent to 12 lives. However, are there so many attack spells in the wizarding world? Forget it, Zhang Dong was too lazy to think about it. Zhang Dong and Dumbledore operate the way directly. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Looking at the two people disappearing, Regulus calmed down his excited heart, then turned his head and said to Creaker, "Creaker, help me buy some polyjuice potion, and find 2 handsome guys to pull some hair. The requirements are not high, just like Sirius." "Yes, Master." Creaker nodded, then looked at Regulus hesitantly. For a long time, he felt that he still needed to tell the Master about the recent events, so he said, "Master, Sirius. I'm afraid it's not possible." "Oh? What's wrong?" Regulus looked at Creaker curiously. "Sirius escaped from prison, and is now wanted nationwide." "Escaped? Him? Wait. How did he get in?" Regulus really didn't know about this. He died quite early, when Sirius was still fighting the Order of the Phoenix and the Death Eaters. He betrayed James Potter and his wife, and killed Peter Pettigrew. Creaker told everything he knew. Listening to Creaker's story, Regulus' expression became more and more interesting. Finally, he couldn't help laughing, "Haha. He actually has this day. Interesting. It's so interesting." Indeed. Creaker also nodded in agreement with his master, Sirius, who always claimed to be righteous, betrayed his friends, and the master who joined the mysterious man is actually the real hero. Betrayal? No, Sirius will not betray. Regulus shook his head. "Although I don't have a good relationship with him, a guy who is willing to break off relations with us to pursue justice in his heart is not the kind of person who is afraid of death and betrays his friends. Although that guy is unwilling to admit it, the pride of Black flows in his blood, which can never be erased. The pride of the Black family is integrated into the bones. Whether it is Narcissa, Sirius, or even the craziest Bella, it is the same. Once they have determined something, they will never look back." "Okay, Master, I'll go buy some polyjuice potion first." After Creaker finished speaking, he disappeared from the Black family. Only Regulus walked silently towards his room, and then opened the door that he hadn't opened for 20 years. "Principal Dumbledore, now that I have the things, I will go home first." "Okay." Dumbledore nodded, but before leaving, he still reminded Zhang Dong, "Don't forget to send your elective form for next year. I am looking forward to you becoming the next little wizard who gets 12 OS in the Owl's exam." Elective. Zhang Dong remembered it. Starting from the 3rd grade, in addition to herbalism, potions, defense against the dark arts, heaven, Xiaomade, literature, and history of magic, in addition to the 7 required courses of magical beasts, Muggle studies, ancient literature, divination, and arithmetic divination, students need to sign up for these courses by themselves, with a minimum of 2 courses and no upper limit. However, if I choose all of them, my time will be very tight. Hermione almost died of exhaustion. But of these 5 courses, I only need to learn ancient runes. The 12 courses are not that attractive to Zhang Dong, but the time converter, this is a good thing. P.S. The holiday chapter is over, let's start the 3rd year directly. I originally thought that the time screen would play Harry Potter and Hogwarts Legacy during school, and Fantastic Beasts during the holidays, but I didn't expect that from the single sheet reading in the background, Fantastic Beasts is the least popular of the 3 series. To be honest, I always thought it would be Hogwarts Legacy. In Diagon Alley, Zhang Qiu and Zhang Dong were walking hand in hand. At first, the wizards on the street were a little worried about the 2 children walking around openly, but when some people recognized Zhang Dong, they were no longer worried. In the era of the Light Curtain, Zhang Dong is now even more famous than Harry Potter. After all, in theory, Harry Potter only defeated Voldemort once, while Zhang Dong defeated him twice. This is a lunar telescope, also called a lunar telescope. Keep it well. You will use it in your astronomy class next year. Zhang Qiu said as he stuffed a lunar telescope into Zhang Dong's arms. This is a divination ball. This is a math card. This is... Zhang Qiu stuffed everything into Zhang Dong's arms one by one. When she put the last copy of Standard Spells for Grade 3 into Zhang Dong's arms could no longer hold even a Furtka ice cream. Looking at Zhang Dong holding a lot of bags, Zhang Qiu said to him helplessly, I really don't understand why you want to sign up for 5 elective courses at the same time. You are crazy. Looking at Zhang Qiu, who was a little worried about himself, Zhang Dong threw all these things into the suitcase with the traceless stretch spell, and said nonchalantly, don't worry, it's just a few electives, it won't have any impact on me. But you, how are you learning the spells you are asked to learn? Since last year, Zhang Dong has lent Dumbledore's notes to Zhang Qiu for study. After a year and a summer vacation, I don't know what level Zhang Qiu is now. Listening to Zhang Dong's question, Zhang Qiu proudly raised his chest, which had already taken shape, and said, Armor protection. Intermediate. Ice freezing. Intermediate. Expelliarmus. Advanced. Stun. Advanced. I have even started to learn apparition. Mom said that as long as I work hard, I can directly apply for the Auror position at the Ministry of Magic after graduation. Then you work hard, and when you reach the intermediate level of apparition, you can learn to break into pieces and shatter into pieces, and maybe you can really become an Auror after graduation. Zhang Dong cheered Zhang Qiu up. In the original world, Zhang Qiu's strength has always been average, and he was just like everyone else after graduation, but this time with Zhang Dong here, he will definitely not let Zhang Qiu, Bijay, fall behind. Zhang Qiu has such strength in the 4th grade, and he will definitely be able to be an Auror in the 7th grade. By the way, have you learned the Patroness charm? Zhang Dong suddenly asked. He didn't forget that this year's Hogwarts is full of Dementors. Listening to Zhang Dong's words, Zhang Qiu lowered his head a little embarrassedly, this is too difficult, I just mastered it. That won't work, you have to work harder, at least you have to reach an intermediate level to deal with Dementors. By the way, which memory did you choose? The use of the Patroness charm requires happy memories. The happier the mood, the stronger the power. When you gave me Bailu, Zhang Bailu, the bird snake egg that Zhang Dong gave to Zhang Qiu, has hatched and is now treated as a treasure by Zhang Qiu every day. Zhang Dong nodded and said, next time, let's try it when Bailu breaks the shell. The birth of life always makes people happy. Yet. Zhang Qiu nodded. It's a pity that she didn't have the memory of Zhang Dong's birth, otherwise, it must be the happiest thing for her. Ah! Suddenly, Zhang Qiu screamed and ran directly to a display window. Zhang Dong didn't know why she suddenly made a fuss, so he followed her, but as soon as he got closer, he knew why Zhang Qiu was so excited. In the cabinet of high-quality Quidditch goods, a gorgeous and handsome broom was quietly visiting there. The main body of the broom is made of ash wood, and the whole is streamlined. Every part is polished with polish as bright as a diamond. Each twig at the end of the broom has been carefully selected, without any missing parts, and the whole is perfect. You can tell at a glance that its balance and precision are absolutely unparalleled. Firebolt. The fastest flying broom in the world. It can accelerate to 150 miles per hour in 10 seconds. It is definitely the first choice broom that every Quidditch player dreams of. Zhang Dong naturally knew that Zhang Qiu liked it very much. Last year, Ravenclaw lost to Slytherin in Quidditch. Zhang Qiu told him more than once. Those Slytherins rely on having 7 Nimbus 2001s. If we had them, we would never lose to them. Zhang Dong really believed this. Slytherin may be better than the other 3 colleges in other aspects, but in recent years, the level of Quidditch has really been getting worse and worse. Just as Zhang Dong was about to speak, a voice sounded behind him. So handsome. Hearing this familiar voice, Zhang Dong turned his head silently. Sure enough, standing behind Zhang Dong was Harry, whom he hadn't seen for a long time. Seeing Zhang Dong turn around, Harry also showed a happy expression. Zhang Dong, why are you here? I should ask you this question. Zhang Dong looked at Harry helplessly in front of him. Hearing Zhang Dong's words, Harry also lowered his head embarrassedly. I accidentally used transfiguration to turn my aunt into a hot air balloon, and flew to the sky. Zhang Dong rolled his eyes at him and asked, was it intentional or accidental? To read the violent novels, go to Novel Network. Harry was even more embarrassed. Intentional. Haha. Woo. Zhang Qiu couldn't help laughing out loud, and then felt that this was not polite, so he quickly covered his mouth. And Zhang Dong silently gave Harry a thumbs up. Well done. That Aunt Maggie is not a good person. She said she likes to keep dogs, but she threw them into the river and drowned them when they got sick. She either beat or scolded Harry, and even gave him dog food for Christmas. When Harry was 4 or 5 years old, she even let the dog bite Harry. Snape later found out about this and wanted to settle the score with the dog owner. Luckily, he was stopped. Seeing Zhang Dong's encouragement, Harry also smiled, then quickly put it away and changed the subject, pointing to the broom in the window and asked, Zhang Dong, this broom is so cool. Do you know what it is? Oh, Firebolt, the fastest broom in the world, the official Quidditch product. A World Cup team just placed 7 orders, it can be said that they have spent a lot of money. Firebolt. The fastest broom in the world. Harry's eyes lit up. No Quidditch player doesn't like Firebolt, and Harry is no exception. But this bloody money, how much money does it mean? How much is a Firebolt worth? To be honest, Zhang Dong really doesn't know, because there is no mention of this in the whole book, and even the price written on the window is negotiable. However, the omnipotent netizens still summarized 3 prices based on various aspects. 600 galleons, 5,000 galleons, and 20,000 galleons. However, Zhang Dong feels that the first and third prices are a bit exaggerated. The first one is a bit cheap. According to the recruitment advertisement of the Ministry of Magic, the initial salary of a striker is 700 galleons, which does not include the salary increase and other benefits of old employees. An auror will have at least 1,000 galleons. 2 firebolts in less than a month? This is too cheap. And 20,000 is a bit expensive. At this price, high-income people like aurors will need 2 years to afford it. Except for pure-blood families like Black and Malfoy, others can't afford it at all. 5,000 galleons. Forget it. Harry shook his head. He could afford the Firebolt, but the price was too high. Harry was really a man with strong self-control. Although there was a mountain of money in Gringotts, he never spent it carelessly. On the contrary, Zhang Dong looked at Zhang Qiu thoughtfully and thought secretly. 5,000 galleons, is not very expensive. Zhang Dong has money now, a lot of money. The venom and spider silk of the acromantula, and the potions that Professor Figo helped him sell, together, he could earn about 3,000 galleons a month. A firebolt, is really nothing. After all, although he made so much money, he had nowhere to spend it. However, Zhang Dong did not buy it directly, but said to Zhang Qiu. I want to go shopping with Harry for a while, do you need me to take you home? Zhang Qiu reluctantly withdrew his gaze from the window, then shook his head and said, I will go shopping for a while, you go and have fun. After that, Zhang Qiu left here directly. She was really afraid that if she looked at it further, she would be moved. Looking at Zhang Qiu's back, Harry looked at Zhang Dong with some worry and asked, Zhang Dong, are you so relieved that she is alone outside? I heard that a very fierce criminal escaped from prison recently. Are you talking about Sirius? Zhang Dong looked at Harry deeply, it's okay, don't worry, he has no interest in Zhang Qiu. Instead of worrying about others, you might as well think about yourself. Me? Why? Harry didn't understand. Because. Zhang Dong subconsciously looked at the corner of Diagon Alley, and then smiled and said, maybe he is watching you somewhere now. What? Harry looked around in panic, watching me? Why? Of course it's because he is your godfather. Didn't you see the light curtain? Didn't your father tell you, you? Harry just remembered that it seemed like this was true. He looked at the wanted poster on the wall. Looking at the man with disheveled hair and wild laughter in the wanted poster, he couldn't help shaking his head, although my hair is a little messy, it's still much better than his. Harry looked more and more wrong. So, why did Dad let him be his godfather? A criminal? Okay, don't think about it, relax. Zhang Dong patted Harry on the shoulder, and then said to him, let's go, Hermione is back from France, let's go find her. Well, Ron is back from Egypt, too, let's go together. Harry nodded, and then he didn't think too much, and walked directly to the other side with Zhang Dong. But Harry didn't notice that after he went away, a big black dog in the corner couldn't help shivering. Did that Zhang Dong recognize me? No. Impossible. No one can recognize me except Remus, James, and that guy. The big dog thought so, and then quietly followed. At this time, Zhang Dong and Harry had already arrived at the lobby of the Leaky Cauldron. It's not that the two of them wanted to drink. Although the butter beer tasted good, Zhang Dong preferred the domestic snow, Longan, Qingdao, Urban. Zhang Dong came here because he knew that Hermione was here. Sure enough, as soon as he arrived at the door, a figure rushed towards Zhang Dong. Zhang Dong. It smells fragrant and is quite elastic. Girls change a lot when they grow up. In just one vacation, Hermione has grown a lot, just like in the movies. The time difference between the Chamber of Secrets and Azkaban is only 3 months, but the trio is like a different person, especially Hermione, who is getting prettier and prettier. Although everyone says that Ginny is the school belle of Gryffindor, Zhang Dong still thinks Hermione is prettier. To read the exciting novels, go to FaluNovel Network. After letting go of Hermione in his arms, Zhang Dong set his sights on a big cat at her feet. Zhang Dong bent down and gently touched its fur, then asked. This is Crookshanks. Hermione said happily, my parents gave me a birthday present. Of course I know this cat is very good. Of course Zhang Dong knew Crookshanks. This is a very spiritual cat. It can be said that Hermione definitely made a profit by buying such a pet with 10 galleons. Really? Hermione was very happy to hear Zhang Dong say this. As expected of him, his vision was the same as hers. Of course, it is not an ordinary cat. It is a cat with Catneel bloodline. It is a cat that can distinguish between good and evil. It is very good. Really? Hermione hugged Crookshanks excitedly. She did not doubt Zhang Dong's words at all. Just say it, her vision will never be wrong. But at this time, there are always discordant voices, such as, Hermione, don't you have a bird snake as a pet? Why did you get a cat again? Ron walked in with Scabbers. The moment Ron walked in, Crookshanks stared at Scabbers in Ron's arms, and then jumped out. At the same time, on Hermione's wrist, a bird snake seemed to be vying for favor, and it instantly grew larger and jumped out. I almost forgot that both cats and snakes eat mice. Squeak! Scabbers was startled and instantly jumped out of Ron's arms and wanted to run out. Then, he saw a big black dog staring at him outside the door. Instantly, Scabbers and the whole mouse were dumbfounded. Is it doomed this year? Scabbers! Ron hugged the frightened Scabbers in his arms, and then glared at the cat and snake in front of him. Why are you so fierce? Hermione also quickly picked up Crookshanks, and then stretched out her white wrist to wrap the bird and snake again. Hermione didn't like Scabbers, to be precise, she didn't like all mice. Ron was just the opposite, he hated all cats because he liked mice. At least he was like that now. Looking at Ron and Hermione like this, Harry hurriedly came out and advised, cats like to catch mice, you should keep them away from each other in the future. Zhang Dong also nodded and said, yes, there is such a saying in my hometown, dogs catch mice, and they are nosy. 540. Sirius outside the door. I always feel like he is scolding me, but I have no evidence. What does this have to do with dogs? Harry didn't understand why Zhang Dong suddenly mentioned dogs, but he still sat at a table with Ron. Hermione also sat opposite Zhang Dong. Ron even put Scabbers in his arms and looked at Hermione with a thief-proof look. Hermione was not to be outdone and put Crookshanks on her lap. After making sure that Crookshanks had no intention of jumping on him, Ron began to talk excitedly about his holiday experience. You must not know what I saw in Egypt. Pyramids. Mummies. I heard from Fred that the real pharaoh was actually a witch. On the surface, she was dead, but in fact, she had been resurrected in the pyramid. Ron. It is impossible for the dead to be resurrected. Hermione interrupted Ron's boasting. Before Ron could refute, Harry suddenly said, "Who said no? Didn't we push Voldemort back into the coffin? Twice." Hermione was unhappy because she felt that what Harry said made sense, but as proud as she was, she still refused to admit defeat and said, "But, he failed twice." Harry and Ron knew what kind of personality Hermione had. Because of her personality, no one in Hogwarts except the three of them considered her a friend. Ron also looked at Zhang Dong curiously and asked, "Zhang Dong, do you think there is resurrection in this world?" "Of course there is." Zhang Dong nodded. "Not to mention Voldemort, who was successfully resurrected in the Goblet of Fire, just him, he has resurrected 3 people so far." Seeing Zhang Dong nod, Ron immediately smiled and said, "Look, Zhang Dong said so, so there must be." Harry nodded continuously, his eyes full of yearning. "It would be great if my parents could be resurrected. That day will come." Zhang Dong ordered a few glasses of juice and then a few side dishes. "Since we are here, we should have a meal before leaving." No one took Zhang Dong's words seriously, just thinking he was joking, and then everyone continued chatting. Ron continued to talk about their family's trip to Egypt, Hermione talked about their family's trip to France, and Harry talked about how he turned his aunt into a hot air balloon and flew over half of the town. Only Zhang Dong took out his phone and started browsing silently. There was no way, Ron's bragging was really unbearable, and Hermione's trip to France was nothing to him. He had travelled to every corner of the world with apparition during his holidays because he was bored, for example, bungee jumping in the Great Rift Valley of East Africa, watching the sunrise on Mount Everest, skiing in the Alps, and fishing for the water monster in Loch Ness. The Loch Ness monster is actually a magical animal, with a danger level of XXXX, and belongs to the same species as the horse-shaped water monster, but the Loch Ness monster is a snake-shaped one. While thinking, Zhang Dong directly clicked on a video, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Then the next second, a huge light curtain appeared in the sky. The light curtain appeared. I don't know who shouted, and in an instant, a group of people rushed out of the door and stretched their heads to look at the sky. Even Hannah Abbott, a temporary worker at the Leaky Cauldron, put down the plate she was going to send to Zhang Dong and ran to the window to look at the sky. "Zhang Dong! No, you should bring the food to me first." At this moment, the familiar Hedwig variations sounded again in the light curtain. Ding 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 ding. Ding 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 ding. Ding 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 ding. A voice rang out on the second floor of the Dursleys' house. "The ultimate Lumos." As the voice rang out, the originally dark room suddenly became bright. Dolores Umbridge, Lumos. Harry Potter actually used the Lumos outside the school. Minister Fudge. I report it. Harry Potter should be expelled. Albus Dumbledore, it's just a harmless luminescent charm. Don't make a fuss, Umbridge. Dolores Umbridge, why not make a fuss? Rules are rules. Harry Potter violated the rules. He should be expelled. As soon as Umbridge finished speaking, the scene came to Harry's room. In the quilt, Harry was holding a flashlight in one hand and a quill in the other, writing his holiday homework, on the authenticity of witch burning in the Middle Ages. However, with the sound of footsteps, Harry immediately skillfully stretched his head under the quilt and covered himself, pretending to be sleeping soundly. Arthur Weasley, haha. You see, Umbridge, Harry didn't use magic at all. He just held the one in the Muggle world, that. Harry Potter, flashlight, Mr. Arthur. Arthur Weasley, yes. Flashlight, flashlight. Don't be so arbitrary in the future, Umbridge. Umbridge, you. Okay, I get it, Mr. Weasley. Underage wizards are not allowed to use magic outside of school, but in the movie, Harry actually used fluorescent flashlights as flashlights at the beginning. It's unreasonable that he was not expelled. Of course, in reality, Harry still uses Muggle tools for lighting like in the original novel, but he uses flashlights instead of kerosene lamps. Lily Potter, my poor child, do you have to be sneaky even to do homework? Sister, brother-in-law, you are too much. Vernon Dursley, I went too far? I provided him with food and shelter. He still refused to listen to me and dropped out of that damned academy. You actually said I went too far. Vernon never thought he went too far, and many people thought so too. Although I beat you, I provided you with food and shelter. Although I scolded you, I provided you with food and shelter. Although I asked you to do all kinds of housework, I provided you with food and shelter. Are you dissatisfied? That's easy. Either you listen to me or get out of here. Others also had no way to deal with it, and it was hard to say anything. Who let it be someone else's family affair? For example, Aunt Marge came. Although she was an aunt, Harry and her were actually not related by blood, and she and Harry didn't have a good relationship. Then, several clips flashed by. On Dudley's 5th birthday, she used her cane to hit Harry's calf to make Dudley happy. On Christmas when Harry was 9, she happily gave Dudley a remote-controlled transforming robot, and then threw a box of dog biscuits to Harry. Then a few days ago. 19 Petunia. Maggie walked into the room and hugged Petunia happily, then threw clothes to Harry, as if she was using him as a clothes rack. It was the dog she brought with her, the bulldog named Lippy, who barked at Harry several times, which made Maggie notice Harry in front of her. Are you still here? Yes. Don't be ungrateful. Vernon and the others are kind-hearted enough to adopt you. If it were me, I would have sent you to an orphanage long ago. Harry Potter, I'd rather go to an orphanage. Albus Dumbledore, no, Harry, you have many potential enemies. You can only stay with your family. The protective magic on you will be effective. Otherwise, your life will be in danger. I don't think James or Lily want you to get into trouble. Harry Potter, okay. Vernon Dursley, don't say okay. Do you think I'm willing to take you in? Maggie is right. You should be grateful and listen to me. Leave that crappy school. And that big fool and the old lunatic. Big fool? There's no need to think about it. It must be Hagrid. As for the old madman, Gellert Grindelwald, hey, Vernon Dursley, I advise you to take back what you just said, otherwise I will throw you, your mean wife and your stupid son into a nest full of poisonous snakes and let them bite you. Don't doubt what I say, and don't try to escape from me. I will do what I say. Vernon didn't dare to speak immediately. Although he was a muggle, he knew how lawless this guy named Grindelwald was after seeing the light screen. Talking to such a person, no matter how reasonable it is, it will become unreasonable. Seeing that Vernon didn't speak, the BG continued to watch it. At dinner, Aunt Marge was happily eating at the table with the Dursley family. Only Harry had to clean up in the kitchen. He could do some cleaning up after they finished eating. But Harry didn't feel uncomfortable. He hated having dinner with that woman more than eating leftovers in the kitchen alone. But obviously, Maggie would not forget Harry just because he hid far away. She glanced at Harry behind her, and then said to Vernon, Vernon, don't blame yourself for this child. If a person is bad at heart, no one can do anything to him. Minerva McGonagle, what's wrong with Harry? He is brave. Honest. Kind. Although he always gets into trouble, he is definitely a good boy. Harry Potter, Professor McGonagall. Harry looked at Professor McGonagall's comments with some emotion. Although Professor McGonagall was always so strict, she really cared about them wholeheartedly and treated them as her own children. Severus Snape, haha, it's not wrong, Minerva, hasn't Mr. Harry caused enough trouble? He really should be expelled from Hogwarts. As soon as Snape finished this sentence, the screen played Aunt Marge's next sentence. This is the law of heredity, just like dogs, if there is a problem with the mother dog, then the puppies will definitely not be good things. Bang! The next second, in a room, the figure of Snape, who was smiling just now, suddenly disappeared. Disapparated. Then, at the door of the Dursleys' house, a long-haired man holding a wand appeared. As he approached the villa, he kept muttering. Bitch! Bitch! I'll let you know. Who is the real dog? It's okay to say that Harry is a dog, but that woman actually dared to say that Lily is. Do you really think my wand is a decoration? To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. Severus. Calm down. Calm down. Then, Dumbledore appeared beside Snape, and he held Snape's arm tightly. When Dumbledore saw Maggie say that, he knew that woman was finished. To be honest, he really didn't care whether Maggie lived or died, but he couldn't let Severus bear the crime of murderer 923. Albus. Let me go. Don't worry, I took the spare wand I stole, no one will know it was me. Is that the point? Dumbledore glared at Snape unhappily. I will never allow you to do anything wrong, Severus, and she is not guilty of death. Okay, for your sake. Snape finally calmed down, but the death penalty can be avoided, but the living crime cannot be escaped. I will turn her into a bitch. Let her taste the feeling of being a bitch, the taste of a dog. Is that so? Then I don't know anything. Dumbledore looked up at the light curtain, as if he was just passing by. Seeing Dumbledore like this, Snape walked towards the Dursleys' house silently, and then... Transfiguration. Woof woof. A barking sound rang out, and at the same time, the howling of the Dursleys' family rang out. Vernon, Maggie. No. What's wrong with you? Penny, Maggie. How did you turn into a dog? Dumbledore, Lippy. Don't lie on it. She's my aunt. Listening to the barking of 3 people and 2 dogs in the villa, Dumbledore looked at Snape speechlessly. This guy is really cruel. Vernon Dursley, you. What did you do? Why did Marge suddenly turn into a dog? Harry Potter, pfft. Vernon Dursley, what are you laughing at? Harry Potter, no. No, ha ha ha. Harry in front of Zhang Dong couldn't help laughing. Although he didn't know who did it, he just wanted to say one thing. Well done. Vernon Dursley, whatever you are laughing at. Hurry up and change Maggie back. She is your aunt. Harry Potter, we are not related by blood. Vernon Dursley, that is your aunt too. Harry Potter, but even if you say so, I am only a 3rd-year student. I can still inflate a person, but I can't turn a person into a dog. Cornely Fudge, I believe this is not Harry Potter, but no matter who did it, it is against the rules. Don't worry, I will send someone to deal with it. Vernon Dursley, humph. Vernon Dursley snorted coldly, and then saw a figure appear out of thin air. The Auror took a look at the bitch on the ground, and used a removal spell to turn the bitch on the ground back to Maggie. By the way, he used an oblivion to erase the other party's not-so-good memory. He didn't say anything, and left directly with a change of shape. And the light screen continued to play at this time. Maggie, who had just done the yin and yang to Lily, had no intention of stopping. She grabbed the brandy bottle and poured wine into the glass while saying, and this boy's father, the guy named Potter. At this moment, Vernon and Petunia immediately became nervous, and even Dudley stopped eating the cake and looked up at his aunt blankly. Unfortunately, Maggie didn't know what they were nervous about. She said to herself. He is a lazy, useless, and liar. He is just a good-for-nothing guy. Are you proud of your parents? They drank too much and died in a car accident together, leaving you, a rude and ungrateful little... Bang! A ray of light flashed, and Aunt Maggie, who had just turned from a dog back to a human, turned into a barking dog again at the Dursleys' house. Seeing this, the bulldog Lippy, who hadn't pounced enough just now, pounced again. Maggie! Vernon shouted, and the Dursleys were once again filled with a cheerful atmosphere. Looking at the lively Dursleys, in the corner, a figure in tattered but clean clothes turned around and left silently. If Zhang Dong was here, he would definitely recognize him. Isn't this Lupin who hasn't been seen for a long time? After letting out a sigh of relief for his good brother, Lupin looked at the light curtain in the sky. It's time to go to Hogwarts. You must be going there too, Sirius. This time, I will personally revenge for James. After saying that, Lupin also disappeared from the spot. At this time, the light screen also changed its picture, and another scene appeared. The train to Hogwarts has departed. At the window, the Weasley family is still waving goodbye to Arthur and Molly. When the train is far away, Ron, Harry and Hermione follow the train to find an empty compartment. Unfortunately, because of the delay, they only found a compartment with only one person at the end of the train. This person was lying on the seat with his eyes closed. The wizard robe draped over him was quite worn, his light brown hair was quite messy, his face was slightly pale, and the whole person gave people a listless and sickly look. Harry and the other 2 walked in, and Ron looked at Harry and asked in a low voice, "You say, who is he?" "Professor Remus Lupin." Hermione pointed to the name tag on the old box. Obviously, she recognized the other person's identity from here. Professor? What course does he teach? Ron began to think, he didn't remember such a professor in Hogwarts. Hermione looked at him helplessly and said, "Needless to say? There is only one vacant position, right? Harry Potter, Defense Against the Dark Arts. This Mr. Lupin is the Professor of Defense Against the Dark Arts. Ron Weasley, then. I hope he can spend this year safely." We have recently lost 2 defense against the dark arts professors. Remus Lupin, then I think I should be able to do it. After all, I still have some confidence in my ability. James Potter, ha ha ha. Remus. Congratulations on becoming the defense against the dark arts professor. It seems that a guy who doesn't wash his hair has been coveting this position for a long time. Severus Snape, haha, it doesn't matter. I believe that within a year, he will retire from this position. I hope he can live to that time. James Potter, hey, Snape, you and I know Remus' strength and ability. He is not a waste like Quirrell or Lockhart. He is just a professor of defense against the dark arts. He is absolutely fine. Quirrell. To read the violent novel, go to Novel Network. Lockhart. Just say it, don't drag us to whip the corpse. Don't you know that the dead are the most important? Harry Potter, Dad, are you familiar with this Professor Lupin? Harry had seen his father interact with this Professor Lupin many times, but he never knew who this Professor Lupin was. James Potter, of course, we are very good friends. With Remus here, I can rest assured. Remus Lupin, I'll leave Harry, Wong Ho Hao, in your care. Remus Lupin, don't worry, James, I'm here, he'll be fine. Looking at Remus Lupin on the screen, Harry also smiled. Father's friends? That's great. However, Ron looked at Lupin in the light screen with some doubt. He looked so weak and miserable, could he really do it? The train continued to move towards Hogwarts, the sky gradually darkened, big raindrops fell from the sky, and the howling wind blew the window slightly. Ron lay in front of the window and said excitedly, "We are almost there, I can't wait to attend the party." However, Ron's voice had just fallen, and the moving train suddenly stopped, and even the magic lights in the train were all dimmed. Dementors, they are coming. Ron looked out the window, his hand on the window was shaking. Not only because of fear, but also because the cold breath had completely covered the entire train. Hermione could clearly see that layers of frost on the train glass had blocked everyone's vision. Ron retracted his hand in a flash, and he looked at the door of the carriage in panic. Damn it! What's going on? Harry followed Ron's line of sight and saw a figure more than 2 meters tall almost hitting the ceiling at the door of their compartment, wrapped in a dark robe. There was no wind in the carriage, but the robe of this figure was constantly swaying. Harry curiously wanted to see the true face of this figure through the robe, but with just one glance, he felt his stomach churning. The grey skin emits eerie spots of light, and the body is withered, as if the skin is directly wrapped around the bones, and the whole body is covered with mucus and spots, like a corpse that has been rotten for a long time. Justin Finch Fletchley, what is that? So disgusting. Neville Longbottom, Dementor. 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 Why did this thing appear here in 863? I don't want to go to school. Frank Longbottom, Neville, you have to be strong. It's just a Dementor. Starting tomorrow, I will start teaching you spells and will make you the most powerful Auror. Neville Longbottom, I'm an Auror? Is that true? Dad. Don't be kidding. Harry Potter, so, what is a Dementor? Newt Scamander, it is a magical creature that feeds on human souls. All humans will be killed wherever they pass by. They suck away happiness. And while they are sucking happiness, they will also make the target recall the most terrible thing in their life, and this is also called the Dementor's kiss. Harry Potter, then, what will happen if you are kissed by this thing? Newt Scamander, without the soul, what is left is naturally only an empty shell. Harry Potter, what? Then, how can such a thing appear on the Hogwarts train? Why doesn't the Ministry of Magic eliminate them? Cornely Fudge, because of Sirius Black, they were ordered to hunt down Sirius Black. Please rest assured, they are still very obedient, they will follow the rules and will not hurt everyone. Dementors are obedient. This Dementor opened the door, it looked around every corner of the carriage, and then suddenly came in front of Harry. It seemed to smell delicious food and opened its smelly mouth directly to Harry. Its mouth made a gurgling sound, and Harry was instantly overwhelmed by a chill. His heart was beating wildly, and he seemed to see the arrival of death, as if he had returned to the night when Voldemort killed his parents. Pa! Cornely Fudge felt like he was slapped twice in the face. It hurts so much. Cornely Fudge, what's going on? Who is responsible for managing the Dementors? They will never do such illegal behavior. I need an explanation. Connolly certainly knew the reason, but he absolutely could not admit it at this time. Sure enough, seeing Cornelius Fudge so excited, some people really thought that this matter had nothing to do with him. Newt's commander, I just said that Dementors feed on human souls. The purer the soul and the better the memory, the stronger the attraction to Dementors. And for Dementors, a walking corpse without souls who can only rely on instinct. Although it's not very polite, I still have to say that Harry treats Dementors like putting a piece of meat bone in front of a wild dog that has been hungry for several days. Do you think, CBBF, they can resist this temptation? After hearing Newt's words, all those with good memories felt cold all over. So, why should such guys be released? Harry Potter, then, will magic work on them? Kingsley Shacklebolt, unfortunately, it doesn't. They don't have souls, so even the most evil Avada Kedavra can't do anything to them, except... At this moment, Lupin, who had been sleeping all the time, suddenly got up and pulled out his wand. No spell was chanted, but a bright and holy white light bloomed at the front of the wand. Under the light, the Dementor seemed to have met its natural enemy, and turned around and disappeared into the carriage without caring about Harry in front of it. Zhang Qiu, it's the Patronus charm. Zhang Qiu, who had already mastered the Patronus charm, immediately became excited. She finally understood why Zhang Dong asked her to learn this spell. Zhang Qiu was also very afraid of this Dementor, because she and Zhang Dong had too many good memories. But now, she was suddenly not afraid anymore. Similarly, in the Leaky Cauldron, Harry, Hermione, and Ron immediately looked at Zhang Dong. If you don't understand, ask. They believe that Zhang Dong must know. Looking at the eyes of the three, Zhang Dong said softly, to read the novel, go to Falu Novel Network. The Patronus Charm, an ancient defensive spell, has a miraculous effect on dark magic creatures. It can block or even drive away Boggats, Dementors, or Voldemorts. Do you know how to do it? Ron asked hurriedly. Zhang Dong nodded, of course. Can you teach me? Ron asked again. Zhang Dong nodded again, of course. The trio smiled, but unfortunately it disappeared in the next second. But this spell is a high-level spell, and it is very difficult to learn. I'm afraid you won't be able to learn it in a short time. This. The three of them looked at each other and felt a headache. Ron couldn't help but sigh, it would be great if Zhang Dong could take the bus with us. With you here, we can rest assured. Harry also nodded continuously. They all knew that Zhang Dong was proficient in apparition. He usually apparat home and went to school directly, and never took the train. Hermione's eyes lit up. She silently held Zhang Dong's hand, and then looked at him with her big watery eyes. Looking at Hermione's eyes, Zhang Dong knew what she was thinking. He smiled slightly, then held Hermione's hand with his backhand and said, "Don't worry, this time, I will go to school with you." At the station, every student was bidding farewell to their parents. It's not that these parents are reluctant to let their children go. The main reason is that after they saw the light screen and knew that there was a high possibility of Dementors attacking the train today, they really didn't feel comfortable with their children taking this train. Be careful, be sure to sit with everyone, and if you encounter Dementors, you must seek help from Professor. Almost all parents told them this, and the children kept nodding to show that they understood. Looking at this scene, Zhang Dong on the side also looked at Zhang Qiu in front of him and said, "Be careful, be sure to sit with everyone, and if you encounter Dementors, you must find me." I know, I know." Zhang Qiu rolled his eyes helplessly. In other families, parents tell their children, but in my case, it's the younger brother telling the older sister. Do I still have face? Looking at Zhang Qiu like this, Zhang Dong couldn't do anything about her. Anyway, he had already given Zhang Qiu the badge that could summon him, so he was not afraid that Zhang Qiu would get into trouble. By the way, Zhang Dong remembered something, and then took out a long strip wrapped in oil paper from his bag and handed it to Zhang Qiu in front of him. "This is for you." "What is this?" Zhang Qiu took the strip curiously, and just as she was about to open it, the train whistle sounded. "I'll get on the train first. See you at Hogwarts." Zhang Qiu waved to Zhang Dong, and then dragged her luggage and took the gift Zhang Dong gave her and got on the train. Zhang Qiu went to find her friends, and Zhang Dong turned around to find Hermione and the others. Zhang Dong got on the train and Hermione, Harry and Ron were already waiting for him. "Zhang Dong, let's go directly to the last carriage," Harry said directly. Zhang Dong naturally had no objection, after all, he and Lupin hadn't seen each other for a long time. The four of them walked directly to the last carriage, but when Ron opened the door, they all froze in their places. The carriage that was supposed to be empty with only Lupin was now full of people. Neville, Seamus, Creevy. At first glance, at least 7 or 8 people were crowded here. Neville even put his suitcase on the ground because there was no seat and sat on it. What is this? Ron couldn't help but shout out. This is different from the light curtain. Where did you guys come from? Looking at the 4 people in front of him, Neville said awkwardly, this, haha, why don't you squeeze together? While Neville was talking, he moved half of his buttocks sitting on the box. Seeing this, Zhang didn't understand why. Isn't it because he is afraid of Dementors and wants to cling to Lupin? They are all students of Hogwarts, so Lupin can't say you all go out and let Harry in. Such words. Looking at Lupin's helpless expression, Zhang Dong could only take a deep breath to calm down, and then helplessly said to Hermione and the others, let's go to the next room. Hermione and the others nodded, and followed Zhang Dong to the next room. Although Professor Lupin's patroness charm in the light curtain was very cool, it was obvious that they still trusted Zhang Dong more. Because many people ran to Lupin's carriage, Zhang Dong and the others easily found an empty carriage and sat down. Harry and Ron sat together, while Zhang Dong and Hermione sat opposite. As soon as he sat down, Ron began to lean on the window and kept looking out of the window. Ron, the Dementors won't come so early. Zhang Dong signaled Ron that he didn't need to be so nervous. Hearing what Zhang Dong said, Ron turned his head back embarrassedly. I'm not afraid of it. By the way, would you like some sandwiches? Beef sandwiches, made by my mother. Harry nodded with a smile. I haven't eaten a sandwich made by Aunt Molly for a long time, give me one. By the way, I'll buy some snacks, the snacks on the train are still very good. Harry walked out of the carriage while talking, and Zhang Dong did not forget to remind him behind him, it's best to buy some sugar, scientific research shows that sugar can make people feel happy. Harry nodded quickly, and then bought a lot of candies. Looking at the candies in front of them, Harry and Ron relaxed and tasted them. Hermione only ate one multi-flavored bean and stopped eating. It wasn't that she ate the candy beans that tasted like booger, but as the daughter of a dentist, she knew how to protect her teeth. As for Zhang Dong, he tasted a box of exploding candy while slowly opening his phone to check the rewards he had received for playing the video before. Your video shocked Hermione Granger, and you can get a reward, Frozen Ground and Cold Sky, Intermediate. Your video shocked Ron Weasley and Harry Potter, and you can get a reward, Magic plus 20. As expected of Hermione, has the earth frozen and the sky frozen reached the intermediate level? As for the rewards of Harry and Ron, I can only say that it is very stable. Zhang Dong's magic power bonus has reached 310, and it seems that half of it is contributed by the two of them. Your video shocked Remus Lupin, and you can get a reward, Happy Spell, Intermediate. It's embarrassing. Professor Lupin only gave me an intermediate spell. However, this spell seems to be the content of the final exam of the charms this year. That's not bad, at least I don't have to study hard by myself. Feeling the happy spell he just learned, Zhang Dong couldn't help but glance at Hermione beside him. Alas, poor Hermione. She may not know that the class hasn't started yet, and her first place in the charms class it's gone. The train slowly moved north. Although the candies on the train were delicious, the happiness brought by sugar was not permanent. When the last candy bean entered Ron's mouth, the sky outside the window gradually darkened. Feeling the sky getting darker, Hermione trembled subconsciously, and then reached out and held Zhang Dong's hand. The warmth in her palm slowly calmed Hermione's nervous heart. But Harry and Ron couldn't do this. After all, if the two of them also held hands, the atmosphere would feel weird no matter how you looked at it. On the train, in another compartment, 5 little eagles were gathered here and happily chatting. Zhang Chu's good friends Marietta Edgemore and Grant Page, plus Roger Davis of the Quidditch team and classmate Max Belby, plus Zhang Chu, 5 Ravenclaw students were sitting in this compartment and chatting. Marietta looked at Zhang Chu in front of her and couldn't help saying, it's really not easy to see you take the train. It seems that you have never taken the train since the 2nd grade. Marietta's words were full of envy. To be honest, who would be willing to take a few hours of car to go to school and go home in an instant? And Zhang Chu just smiled and replied, actually it's okay, taking the train is also interesting. Hearing Zhang Chu say this, Marietta was even more speechless. Interesting? It's quite 480 interesting, the Dementors are here. But, there are Dementors today. Is your brother really at ease with you coming out alone? Grant said worriedly. Listening to Grant's words, Zhang Qiu was helpless. No, what do you mean my brother is at ease? I am the elder sister. Without waiting for Zhang Qiu to answer, Roger Davis on the side said directly, don't worry, if something really happens, I will protect everyone. While Roger was talking, he glanced at Zhang Qiu, as if not to worry. Roger Davis, in the original book, had pursued Zhang Qiu, but unfortunately he was no match for Cedric and was directly rejected by Zhang Qiu. It's almost the same now. Seeing Davis' good intentions, Zhang Qiu could only roll his eyes secretly. You protect me? Do you know the patroness spell? We are still not sure who will protect whom. Seeing Zhang Qiu not speaking, Davis also felt that he was asking for trouble. Feeling awkward, he subconsciously wanted to change the subject, and then his eyes fell on the long package next to Zhang Qiu. What is that? Roger Davis pointed to the package behind Zhang Qiu. As the captain of the Quidditch team, he could tell at a glance that it contained a broom. Following Davis's gaze, the attention of others was also attracted by the package. Grant asked curiously, Zhang Qiu, is this your flying broom? Have you changed to a new broom? You used to use a Nimbus 2000. Although 2 years have passed, the performance of the Nimbus 2000 is still not behind this era. Zhang Qiu smiled gently, then turned around and placed the package horizontally on her legs. She could also see that it should be a broom, but she didn't know what was inside. My brother gave it to me. I haven't had time to open it yet. It should be a Nimbus 2001. Roger Davis' eyes lit up when he heard it. That's not bad. Last year, the Slytherin team directly got 7 Nimbus 2001s. Otherwise, we really wouldn't have been able to do that. We will definitely lose to them. With the Nimbus 2001, at least we have hope of defeating them. Although everyone looks down on the Krypton Gold Warriors, but if you have money, who doesn't want to become a Krypton Gold boss? Grant also said impatiently, open it and take a look. Maybe it's the Nimbus 2002. This shouldn't be. Zhang Qiu knew that her brother was rich, but the Nimbus 2002 was indeed a bit expensive. She gently opened the package in front of her, and the next second, everyone present was stunned. It's indeed not the Nimbus 2002, but it's not the Nimbus 2001 either. This is Firebolt X5. Instantly, everyone present, including Zhang Qiu, shouted out the name of this broom in unison. There is no one who likes Quidditch who doesn't like the Firebolt. This is the pinnacle of flying brooms. It is a dream that ordinary people can't reach. Even professional Quidditch players can't own this broom. Zhang Qiu covered her mouth and tried not to shout out. She was about to cry. No, she was already crying. Tears were already flowing uncontrollably, but they were not tears of sadness, but tears of extreme joy and happiness. In front of Zhang Qiu, Davis was completely dumbfounded. He originally thought that as the Quidditch captain and Ravenclaw prefect, he would definitely impress Zhang Qiu, but this Firebolt directly shattered his confidence. A poor boy who was the captain and monitor of the basketball team and a princess who drove a limited edition Bugatti, such a combination can only appear in fairy tales. Ah! Davis sighed and tried to control his hand that wanted to touch the Firebolt. To read the exciting novels, go to FaluNovel Network. Xiao Dong. Zhang Qiu was holding the broom, and she wanted to run over and kiss her brother hard. But reason made her restrain herself. Kissing secretly was fine, but Zhang Dong and Hermione were sitting together now. What would it look like if she ran over? At this moment, Zhang Qiu only wanted to ride this broom and fly in the sky. Unfortunately, she is now in the train, and the sky outside seems to be dark. Wait! It's dark! Zhang Qiu reacted instantly, and everyone reacted at this time. Whoosh! The wind began to howl, the train had stopped, and all the lights became dim. Zhang Qiu looked at the door of the carriage, and saw that at this moment, a dark shadow was standing at the door and watching them silently. Soul stealing, woo! Marietta almost shouted, but fortunately, Grant beside her reacted and covered her mouth. In the carriage, everyone held their breath and said nothing. I just hope that this Dementor can leave quickly. However, after looking around, the Dementor locked its eyes on Zhang Qiu who was holding the Firebolt. It looked like it was looking at a rare delicacy. Not good. Everyone reacted. It was said in the barrage yesterday that this Dementor feeds on human emotions, and the happier and more joyful they are, the more they like it. And now, is there anyone happier and happier than Zhangqiu, who is holding the firebolt? At this moment, the Dementor is approaching Zhangqiu. Help! Grant shouted. They already know how terrible the Dementors are, but the problem is that there is no Professor Lupin in their carriage to save them. And if the Dementors kissed her, wouldn't Zhangqiu be dead? Dementors, facing such a terrifying existence, it is impossible for Zhangqiu not to be nervous. However, looking at the firebolt in her hand, Zhangqiu suddenly felt that she had unprecedented courage and strength. She spent the entire holiday learning the Patroness charm, but for the entire holiday, she stayed at the elementary level and could not break through. She didn't know where the problem was. She asked Zhang Dong, and Zhang Dong just told her. Her life was too smooth. When a person is always surrounded by happiness, it is more difficult for her to feel the preciousness of happiness. She suddenly understood why Zhang Dong gave her the firebolt, and she did feel unprecedented happiness and joy. But she was not happy because she had the firebolt, but because she felt happy because of the person who gave her the firebolt. This time, I will definitely succeed. Zhangqiu raised the wand in her hand, and the holy white light bloomed from the front of the wand. Expecto Patronus! Buzz! The white light enveloped the body of the Dementor in front of it. Facing this white light, the Dementor seemed to encounter the darkness of light. With a wail, its figure was instantly bounced away. That is. Roger Davis stared at Zhangqiu in front of him in a daze. Not only him, anyone who has seen the light curtain can recognize what this spell is. The Patroness charm. But isn't that a super difficult advanced spell? Even an auror may not be able to learn the spell. But how did she, Zhangqiu, a 4th grade student, learn it? Unknowingly, has she grown to this level? Ha ha ha. In the box, Zhang Dong couldn't help laughing. How could he not know that the Dementor would attack Zhangqiu? Yes, he did it on purpose. But he also kept observing Zhangqiu's box with the ESP spell, fearing that something might happen to Zhangqiu. But now it seems that Zhangqiu did not disappoint him. Success! As long as she practices more, she can condense a patroness. The most difficult step of the patroness charm is the first step. As long as it is successfully released, it is only a matter of time to awaken the patroness. Zhang Dong, what are you laughing at? On the side, Harry couldn't help looking at Zhang Dong beside him. He had closed his eyes and rested his mind just now, and then suddenly laughed, which looked a bit scary. Zhang Dong did not answer Harry, because at this moment, his face suddenly became gloomy. Outside the box, the Dementor that was bounced away by Zhangqiu howled, and under the guidance of its voice, the surrounding Dementors were also attracted by its voice, and then locked onto Zhangqiu in front of him. Woo! One by one, the Dementors began to surround the door of Zhangqiu's carriage, as if a dog smelled delicious food. They were hesitating because Zhangqiu was not their target. They are hesitating because they are reluctant to give up the delicious food in front of them. It was like a money transport truck spilling money all over the sky because of a car accident. Pedestrians could still control their actions with reason, but when the first person took action, all reason would be swallowed by desire. Finally, a Dementor couldn't help it. When it moved, the other Dementors also moved directly. They just took a bite and tasted it, nothing would happen. Looking at the several Dementors that pounced on her, Zhangqiu's face turned pale. She knew the patroness charm, but that could only stop a few Dementors at most. Zhangqiu's fingers holding the wand turned pale. Just when she was ready to fight to the death, a cold shout suddenly rang out. Get out! Zhangqiu's eyes lit up instantly. Of course, she could tell that it was Zhang Dong's voice. And at the moment the voice rang out, a silver white lion suddenly rushed out from the void. Roar! The male lion roared, and the Dementors that rushed in front of it were slapped and flew more than 10 meters away. What happened? To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. I seem to hear the sound of fighting. Look! What a handsome lion! The little wizards in the carriage also found something wrong. Driven by curiosity, some brave little lions stretched their heads out to watch the excitement. Lupin was no exception, but he heard the sound and was worried that someone would get into trouble, so he came out to help. As soon as he walked out of the carriage, he was stunned. That's it! Patroness! He knew many people who knew the patroness charm, but most of them were docile animals such as cats, dogs, and deer. But it was the first time he saw a male lion. But what shocked him even more was yet to come. After slapping the Dementors away, the lion seemed to be unsatisfied, and its body continued to grow. 10 meters. 20 meters. 30 meters. It didn't stop until it expanded to 100 meters. Looking at this scene, Lupin also widened his eyes, because he had thought of something. There are 3 types of Patroneuses. Ordinary species, cats, dogs, rabbits, swans. Ancient species, the representative is Headley Fleetwood's mammoth patroness. And the rarest magical creature form, the representative is Dumbledore's phoenix. Among them, the strongest patroness is an ancient wizard called Invincible Andress, whose patroness is a giant 100 meters tall. But now, Zhang 253 Dong's lion is not weaker than him. So, this is definitely not an ordinary lion patroness. But a mythical creature. Roar! The Nemean lion roared loudly, and the holy white light directly enveloped the entire train. In an instant, all the Dementors were shaken away by the white light. Roar! Seeing the Dementors disappear, the Nemean lion roared loudly, and then disappeared in the sky with a sense of satisfaction. Okay, those annoying guys shouldn't come. Zhang Dong put away his wand and looked at Harry and Ron, who were stunned and didn't know what to say. After a long time, Harry asked, "Is that the patroness charm?" "Yeah." Zhang Dong nodded. Seeing Zhang Dong nod, Harry's eyes lit up. For some reason, he felt that this spell was so cool and suitable for him. "I decided that I must learn this spell in the future." And Zhang Dong looked at the Dementors that had gone away. He hated these gloomy and annoying guys. "I hope you can be more careful and not mess with me, otherwise, even if you are the guards of Azkaban, I will make you disappear from this world. Dementors cannot be killed, but I have a mirror space. Lock these Dementors in there, and even if they are them, they can't come out again." After Zhang Dong drove away the Dementors, the rest of the journey was much calmer. After arriving at Hogsmeade Station, he took the Thestral carriage and headed all the way to Hogwarts. Zhang Dong had never walked this road since he learned to apparate, and it was quite interesting to walk there occasionally. However, he saw quite a few Dementors flying around on the road, which ruined Zhang Dong's good mood. "First-year students, go this way." As soon as he entered the Hogwarts Great Hall, Dean Sprout was calling the first-year wizards to walk towards her. Just when Harry didn't understand why Professor McGonagle was not presiding over the sorting ceremony this year, he saw Professor McGonagle on the side shouting to them. "Zhang Dong! Hermione! Come to my place!" Not knowing why Professor McGonagle wanted to find him and Hermione, Zhang Dong nodded, and then followed Professor McGonagle with Hermione. The 3 of them walked down the long marble staircase and came to Professor McGonagle's office. This was Zhang Dong's first time in Professor McGonagle's office. It was not big, a little smaller than the Defense Against the Dark Arts professor's office, but it was warm and cozy. Professor McGonagle motioned for the 2 to sit down, and then took out 2 small boxes from the drawer and handed them to the 2. Zhang Dong took the box and opened it, only to see an exquisite wall clock lying inside. "This is..." Hermione couldn't help asking. Professor McGonagle pushed the square glasses on her nose, and then told the 2, "Time converter, a magical prop that can reverse time. You 2 have chosen all the elective courses. To be honest, I haven't seen such a crazy student for a long time. The last one who did this was Percy. Time goes back." Hermione looked at the time converter in shock. "Time goes back, what a terrible adjective." Professor McGonagle nodded and said, "That's true, because many of your elective courses are conducted at the same time, so if you don't use this, you can't take all the courses at the same time." As Professor McGonagle spoke, she took out a thick document and handed it to the 2. "But because of this, you have to sign these guarantees, and don't lose this thing, otherwise, you may have to pay the Ministry of Magic a sum of galleons that I can't afford, otherwise, you may be imprisoned in Azkaban." "Then, how much is it exactly?" Zhang Dong couldn't help asking. Professor McGonagle looked at Zhang Dong suspiciously, but she still said, "Do you know Firebolt? You can buy almost 10 of them." 10. That's really a bit expensive. Zhang Dong was a little shocked by the price of the time converter. 1 Firebolt is 5,000 gold galleons, and 10 are 50,000 gold galleons. This price, even Zhang Dong can't afford it now. With Zhang Dong's current earning power, it would take him 2.5 years to save 2,000 gold galleons a month. Come out. Yes, that's right, Zhang Dong is not going to pay it back. It will be destroyed sooner or later anyway, so it's better to keep it for yourself. Maybe it will be useful someday. Alas, I didn't expect that I would be short of money one day. 50,000 gold galleons, this amount of money is really not available in the whole of England. Only the heirs of several families such as Black, Snape, Malfoy, Dumbledore, and Potter can come up with it. So, should Severus or Harry pay for this money? To read the exciting novels, go to FaluNovel Network. Zhang Dong is confident that both Harry and Snape will definitely be willing to resurrect Lily Potter with 50,000 gold galleons. Zhang Dong and Hermione signed on the side, while Professor McGonagle said to him happily, "I heard that you have mastered the Patroness charm and can summon a patroness, and it is a lion. When did you learn it? That is a very advanced spell." Professor McGonagle's eyes became brighter and brighter as she spoke. There is no Gryffindor student who doesn't like lions. As expected, Zhang Dong is a natural Gryffindor. Zhang Dong smiled politely, "Actually, I learned it a long time ago, but I have never had a chance to use it. After all, Dementors and Voldemorts are not often encountered. Yet, I don't know what the Ministry of Magic thinks of placing Dementors around Hogwarts." Professor McGonaggle muttered. When she mentioned this matter, she felt that the Ministry of Magic was making a fuss. She saw Zhang Dong and the others sign all the letters of guarantee before she signaled Zhang Dong and Hermione to leave. Zhang Dong and Hermione hurried to the auditorium, but unfortunately, when they arrived at the auditorium, the sorting ceremony had already ended. "Alas, we didn't catch up with the sorting ceremony." Hermione sighed, feeling a little pity. She always thought the sorting ceremony was very interesting. Zhang Dong also nodded, he also felt a little pity, but it seemed that the students of grade 93 didn't have much to say. There are only two people worth mentioning, Romilda Vanny, the girl who wanted to give Harry a love potion, and Astoria Greengrass, who came from the pure-blood family Greengrass, married Malfoy in the future and became Malfoy's wife. One of the two girls joined Gryffindor and the other joined Slytherin. Zhang Dong took Hermione to the Gryffindor seat, where Harry had reserved seats for them. At this time, Dumbledore also walked up to the podium and began to speak like a Muggle principal. "Due to some well-known reasons, our school has now welcomed some Dementors, and they will be stationed at every entrance of the school." Dumbledore's tone was unusually serious. "I must remind you that Dementors do not distinguish between good and evil, and I, Li Ma Zhao, do not want any students to be hurt by them." Dumbledore became more and more angry as he spoke. The light curtain had been warned, but Dementors still attacked students. What is the Ministry of Magic trying to do? What? I just stopped caring, I'm not dead. Looking at Dumbledore, who was obviously in a bad mood in the stands, Zhang Dong had no doubt that this old bee could turn into a wasp at any time. Then, Dumbledore announced two new professors this year, Hagrid and Lupin. Looking at the smiles on their faces, Zhang Dong was happy for them. But, since school has started, it's time to play a video to celebrate. Zhang Dong took out his mobile phone and searched for it. Playing the story of Sirius right after school might affect everyone's good mood, so let's continue playing Hogwarts Legacy. Buzz. The light curtain appeared, and as the light curtain appeared, everyone's attention was all on it. "Lily Potter, Harry, how is it? Did you get to Hogwarts safely?" "Harry Potter, I'm fine, Mom." "James Potter, haha, I said it, with Remus here, how could Harry be in trouble?" "Remus Lupin, it actually has nothing to do with me. It was Zhang Dong who did it. His patroness charm level is beyond my expectation." "James Potter, Zhang Dong? It's that kid. How old is he to know the patroness charm? So, how does he compare to you?" "Remus Lupin, same weight. James Potter, same weight as you." "That's okay, although it's also exaggerated, but understandable." "Remus Lupin, I'm half a pound of scrap metal, he's 8 ounces of fine gold." "James Potter. James Potter, tell me more specifically? How strong is it?" "Remus Lupin, let me put it this way, his patroness is a lion. Although I didn't recognize it, it shouldn't be an ordinary 487 lion." "Zhang Dong, can I ask what your patroness is?" "Zhang Dong, it's called Nemia. Regulus Black, Nemia. The lion that incarnates Leo in legend." Regulus certainly knew what Nemia was, and after seeing Regulus' words, everyone knew what kind of existence Zhang Dong's patroness lion was. Wizards who know the patroness charm are more popular no matter where they are. Especially in the Ministry of Magic, basically all wizards who can summon a patroness can become high-level officials of the Ministry of Magic. At this time, the light screen finally lit up, and the broadcast began. Inside Hogwarts, a figure was walking towards the potions classroom. It was Zhang Dong. He was the last one to arrive in this classroom. Fortunately, he was not late. When Zhang Dong stood at his seat, a figure had already walked out of the door. It was the Professor of Potions, Sharp. Professor Sharp looked around and confirmed that all the students were here. He nodded with satisfaction and said, "Potions is the most advanced and dangerous subject in this college. This class will further test everyone's level and self-control. Ron, is this Professor Sharp? He looks very elegant, but his hairstyle. Does the college stipulate that the Professor of Potions must have this kind of shawl hair?" "Slughorn, don't talk nonsense, classmate. My hairstyle is not like this." "Ron, who are you?" "Minerva McGonagle, I seem to have forgotten to tell you. This Horace Slughorn is the former Slytherin Dean of our Hogwarts and the previous Potions Professor. Draco Malfoy, why did he quit? He can't compare with Professor Snape. Have you retired yourself?" "Horace Slughorn. What can I say? Although I don't want to admit it, Snape is not inferior to me in terms of potion level and personal strength. Horace Slughorn, ha ha ha, it's the child of the Malfoy family, so innocent and cute. I'm just old and my eyes are blurry, so I want to take a rest. Lucius Malfoy, Draco, what did I teach you? Be polite." "Draco Malfoy, yes, father." Sharp took out a bottle of emerald green potion, and then said, "Today's lesson is to teach you how to prepare this bottle of stimulating potion. Mr. Sakaha, tell me why the stimulating potion is important." Amit Sakaha stood up and said, "Professor, because the stimulating potion can be used to detoxify and treat various injuries, but not all injuries can be cured." Professor Sharp nodded repeatedly, "Good answer, 5 points for Ravenclaw." "Harry Potter, what did I see? The Professor of Potions actually gave extra points to people. Professor Snape, look at this one. Severus Snape, well said, Harry Potter, 5 points for talking about the Professor. Remus Lupin, I think Harry's courage to speak is very valuable, 5 points. What?" Snape stared at Lupin angrily. "I knew that this guy would definitely go against me when he became the defense against the dark arts professor. Just like before." Lupin looked at Snape unwillingly, not afraid of him at all. Harry looked at Lupin, who was sitting in his seat and tasting the food calmly, with great surprise. It was great. He finally waited for a professor who didn't get along with Snape. "Well done, Professor Lupin." Dumbledore also looked at the two of them happily. He knew this would be the result. Zhang Dong picked up the pestle and medicine pot in front of him and started grinding. He could still hear Professor Sharp's reminder in his ears, to read the exciting novels, go to FaluNovel Network. The powder should be ground carefully, fine and smooth. Zhang Dong ground the herbs into powder as the professor reminded. When adding the powder, make sure the dosage is accurate. Remember, a small mistake can lead to a big mistake. Zhang Dong put an appropriate amount of white fresh powder into the crucible, and then gently added 3 drops of Hoglurp juice next to it. There is less white fresh powder, a little seasoning, gently stir to get out the steam, then cook on high heat to collect the juice, done. Zhang Dong was the first to complete the preparation of the stimulant potion, and Professor Sharp also came to Zhang Dong. Looking at the stimulant potion prepared by Zhang Dong, he nodded with satisfaction. Well prepared. By the way, I heard about what happened to you in Hogsmeade. I can take this opportunity to prepare some Edrew's potion. Hermione Granger, Aedelus Drew's potion? What is that? Slughorn, it is a potion that can only be learned in the 5th grade. Only 5th year wizards can learn it. After taking this potion, the power of the potion will form a thin film on the surface of the wizard's body, which can enhance the wizard's defense. Bellatrix, it's useless. It will be crushed into pieces. At most, it's the difference between turning into powder and turning into meat. Slughorn, alas, ignorant guys, how did I teach you back then? You really don't know the power of potions. In the eyes of many wizards, potions are used to cure diseases and heal injuries. This is a complete misunderstanding. The potions prepared by a true master of potion science are enough to make a wizard undergo earth-shaking changes. The picture on the light screen suddenly changed. In an empty hall, a tall figure stood in the center. Nearly 20 meters in height, his whole body is made of mithril with extremely high magical power, and he holds a sword that is more than 10 meters long and as wide as a door panel. With one strike, even the whomping willow at the door of Hogwarts will be cut in half by it. Pensive Basin Guardian. Remus Lupin, what is this? It looks very unusual. Albus Dumbledore, the Pensieve Guard has appeared once before. One guard stopped a legend and 3 top wizards. It's very powerful. I have always wanted to get a few in Hogwarts. Minerva McGonagle, I support you, Albus. Albus Dumbledore, unfortunately, one is too expensive. Minerva McGonagle, hey? Albus, this is not like you, don't you always regard money as dirt? Seeing Professor McGonagle's barrage, Dumbledore rolled his eyes helplessly, and then looked at the small figure of Gryffindor. Ariana Dumbledore. He is different now. He has a younger sister. In the future, his money will definitely go to Ariana. Of course, he has to save some money for his sister. Bellatrix, so, why did such a big guy suddenly appear? And what does Zhang Dong want to do? Horace Slughorn, I think I know what he wants to do. Severus Snape, me too. Facing the terrifying guard of the Pensieve, Zhang Dong silently took out 2 bottles of potion, one blue and one red, from his arms, opened the lid, and poured them directly into his mouth. Ron Weasley, what is that? Horace Slughorn, if my eyes are not blurry, the red one is called the Ultimate Potion, which can greatly increase the power of spells after taking it, and the blue one is called the Focus Potion, which can help wizards quickly mobilize the magic power in their bodies. To put it bluntly, one is a damage bonus, and the other is a skill cooldown reduction. But reality is not a game, so there is naturally another way to explain it. Ron Weasley, there is such a potion. If I drink dozens of bottles before each battle, can I beat Voldemort? Voldemort, haha, the little wizards nowadays are getting more and more arrogant. In the face of real strength, let alone 2 bottles of potion, even if you drink potion as water, it will be useless. Zhang Dong, really? The moment the 2 bottles of potion entered the mouth, the Pensieve Guard moved. He waved his arms, and a stream of magic gushed out from under his feet. Zhang Dong also reacted immediately and dodged. After that, he aimed his staff at the Pensieve Guard in front of him. Ice Freeze. Thunder Blast. Disarm you. Shatter. Turn the page. Burning Flames. Leviosa. Guards fly. Fall to the ground. Turn back again, the spells cast before have finished cooling down. Ice Freeze. Thunder Blast. Disarm you. Shatter. Spells were fired at the Pensieve Guard as if they were free. The dense spells were fired like machine guns. In just a few seconds, the Pensieve Guard, who was as powerful as a machine gun, fell to the ground. It's a pity that the health bar can't be seen during the live broadcast, otherwise, everyone would see the Pensieve Guard's health dropping. Ancient Magic. Thunder. A bolt of thunder fell, and the battle was over. Ron Weasley, is this the power of potions? Horace Slughorn, yes. This is the power of potions. See. As long as there is a potion, even a 5th-year wizard can easily defeat a top or even legendary wizard. Professor Sharp, are you kidding, Slughorn? Even if you take the concentration potion and the ultimate potion, a normal person can't cast spells continuously without stopping. There's something wrong with this person. The light curtain hasn't ended yet. It's still Zhang Dong, but he has come to a building at this time. 2 spider crawlers and 2 rockback mud monsters rushed directly towards him. However, Zhang Dong still has that set of attacks. To read the exciting novels, go to Falu Novel Network. Ice Freeze. Thunder Blast. Disarm you. Shatter. There is no method, and no need for method. Under the simple crushing of spells, the 4 magical animals fell directly to the ground and turned into corpses. Ron Weasley, so cool. This is the Battle of Wizards. So gorgeous. Professor. I want to learn this. Severus Snape, haha. You, a Gryffindor, still want to learn this? I don't know how to do it. It's not that he can't make the concentration potion, but Snape doesn't understand why this concentration potion has such a good effect on Zhang Dong. Of course it's good. Ancient magic talent, concentration potion efficacy. Effect, after taking the concentration potion, each spell used will extend the duration of the potion. Of course, there is more to it. Ancient magic talent, Aeolus Potion effect. Taking Aeolus Potion will make you invincible, and at the same time, it will rebound incoming projectiles back to the attacker. Ancient magic talent, Ultimate Potion effect. After taking the Ultimate Potion, the spell damage will be greatly increased, and the shield breaking effect will be attached. And the trait, Concentration, level 3. Significantly increase the damage of all spells. With these increases, this creates the light curtain. Mobile turret. Zhang Dong looked at Yunohuhu in the light curtain and had to say that fighting like this was really fun. It was just a bit of a waste of potions and a bit expensive. Thinking like this, Zhang Dong ended this light curtain. Your video popularized Professor Sharp, and you can get a reward. Focus on potion preparation mastery. Your video popularized Yunohuhu, and you can get a reward. Ancient magic talent, focus on potion efficacy. Did I get these 2 rewards right after I finished speaking? Zhang Dong accepted the 2 rewards with great satisfaction. He subconsciously wanted to put away his phone, but the next second, he saw another video in the popular recommendation. The phoenix and the bat flew away, and they also took the cat that couldn't fly away. Where did this video come from? The phoenix and the bat flew away, and they also took the cat that can't fly away. When Zhang Dong saw this title, his heart skipped a beat. Because he had seen a similar title before, but that title was called The Phoenix and the Bat Flew Away, leaving only the cat that can't fly. The phoenix, the bat, and the cat refer to the 3 deans of Hogwarts, and now this title has been changed. Zhang Dong looked deeply at Professor McGonagle on the stage, and his eyes just met with Professor McGonagle's. Looking at Zhang Dong's slightly sad eyes, Professor McGonagle also felt a little nervous. Will this kid cause trouble again? Turning around, it's not right. Zhang Dong is such an obedient and sensible child, how could he cause trouble? How could Zhang Dong know what Professor McGonagle was thinking? He just clicked on the video silently. Then, the light curtain that all the 107 people thought was going to disappear became bright again, and the title of this video appeared. The phoenix and the bat flew away, and they also took the cat that couldn't fly away. Fred Weasley, look, there's more videos. George Weasley, I was wondering, how could there be only so many videos today? Sure enough, there's more. Hermione Granger, so, what does this title mean? Looking at the title, it's a bit like the previous personal special videos, but I don't know who they belong to. Newt Scamander, Phoenix, Bat, Cat? So is this video a magical beast video? Gellert Grindelwald, I know you're magical beasts. This is obviously using animals to refer to people. There's no need to say who the phoenix refers to. As for the other 2. Ron Weasley, I know. The cat is Professor McGonagall. As for the bat, it should be Professor Snape. Fred and the others told me that they privately call Professor Snape the old bat. Swish. Swish. 2 murderous eyes fell on Ron, it was Fred and George. They had already anticipated how Snape would target them in this year's potions class. You, Tima, are really our good brother. Ron. I'm going to strangle you to death. Fred grabbed his brother's neck and shook him constantly. Ron realized that he seemed to have said something he shouldn't have said, and struggled. I was wrong, Fred. Don't use too much force. I'm your brother. Enough. Quiet. Gryffindor will lose 5 points. Snape's cold voice sounded. Fred angrily retracted his hand, and then did not forget to glare at Ron. And Ron could only shrink his head in embarrassment. Professor McGonagall didn't care about them, because she also guessed what the question meant. It's just that why it sounds a little uneasy? The phoenix and the bat flew away, they also took away the cat that can't fly? The phoenix must be Albus, and the bat must be Snape, so why did they leave? Who left? It shouldn't be the one I thought. Impossible, Albus is so powerful, who can kill him? At this moment, Professor McGonagall guessed the story behind this title in a sense. And at this moment, the broadcast began. Welcome to Hogwarts. In front of the gate of Hogwarts, Professor McGonagall gently welcomed every new student. In front of her, the faces of the little wizards kept changing. Harry, Ron, Hermione, Luna, Colin, Rolf, Romilda, Astoria, even Jimmy, Natalie, Dennis, who should enter next year. And no matter which class, she stood in front of the stairs early, smiling and welcoming these new little wizards. Romilda, Vani, I see me. Long live. Mom and Dad, look. I'm finally on the light screen. Colin Creevy, wait. Dennis. My brother. He's here at Hogwarts. That's great. Great? Zhang Dong looked at the excited little Colin not far away. If you saw that both of you brothers died in the battle against Voldemort, you probably wouldn't think so. In the Transfiguration class, the bell for class has already rung, and all the students are quietly studying with their heads down. However, two figures broke in at this time. They are the late Ron and Harry. To read the exciting novels, go to FaluNovel Network. Looking at the empty podium, finally caught up. If I were late, Professor McGonagle's face would be scary. Ron and Harry just breathed a sigh of relief, and the tabby cat jumped down from the podium and turned into Professor McGonaggle. Seeing this scene, Ron couldn't close his mouth. He was even more surprised than Harry, who had just come into contact with magic. Really, really amazing. Thank you for your evaluation, Mr. Weasley. McGonaggle showed a kind smile, which was a response to Ron's praise, but the next second, her expression became serious again. Maybe I should turn Mr. Potter and you into a pocket watch, so that at least one of you can keep time. We are lost. Harry said embarrassedly. Then turn it into a map. Okay, go back to your seats. This doesn't require a map. She is always like this, strict but gentle, kind but tough. At this time, a red high-level barge floated out. Gryffindor, courage is supreme, our dean can turn into a cat. Ron Weasley, haha. Our dean can turn into a cat? Who came up with this? It's a genius. George Weasley, but it's cute, isn't it? You see, other colleges can't say that. Zhang Qiu, why not? Ravenclaw. The highest floor. The farthest from the cafeteria. No midnight snacks. Professor Flitwick, student Zhang Qiu. Don't tell the truth. If you do this, we won't be able to recruit students next year. Think of something else. Zhang Qiu, then. Ravenclaw, smart and carefree, our dean, is as tall as his waist? Professor Flitwick. Zhang Dong rolled his eyes at Zhang Qiu. This girl really makes her worry. Why does she say everything out loud? Although I said this at home, I can say it but you can't. So Zhang Dong quickly made up for her sister, the high floor can exercise your body, and it can make you do things more carefully, to prevent things from being left in the dormitory. The body is the capital of revolution. Only with a good physique can you study and research better. As for supper, eating too late is not good for your body. If you need it, you can ask the cute little girl in the Badger courtyard to send it or stock up some food yourself. There are always more solutions than problems, Doghead saves life. Professor Flitwick, thank you for your comfort, classmate Zhang Dong. So, you really don't consider coming to our Ravenclaw? Professor McGonaggle, don't even think about it. Zhang Dong is from our Gryffindor. Professor McGonaggle quickly refused. Not to mention that Flitwick wanted Zhang Dong, even if he wanted Ron and Harry, who were the most likely to cause trouble, she would not agree. Gryffindor will never give up any student. P.S. Not finished yet, just a little fever, 38.5, it took 3 days of intravenous drip to reduce it. On the ground, a ferret was crawling around, and the young wizards were a little flustered because of its rampage. Opposite these young wizards, a man with a fake eye was laughing. Let me teach you how to cast a curse behind someone's back. Mad Eye Moody came over proudly. He stretched out his wand and used the levitation spell to control the ferret and let it roll up and down. You bug! Coward! Trash! Mad Eye laughed loudly, then controlled the ferret to untie Crab's belt and stuffed the ferret in. Ah! Crab screamed in panic, and his good friend Goyle rushed over and reached into Crab's crotch, but the ferret bit him directly, and Goyle was so scared that he immediately retracted his hand. The young wizards around laughed at this scene, especially Harry, who laughed happily. Draco Malfoy, ha 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 ha. Goyle, Crab, you are in such a mess. Goyle. Crab, Malfoy, have you ever thought about who that ferret is? Draco Malfoy. Crab and Goyle. Harry and Ron. Wait. I don't seem to see myself. Lucius Malfoy, Mad Eye. What are you doing? How dare you treat my son like this? 02. Mad Eye Moody, this. Mad Eye was also hesitant. He really couldn't figure it out. Although he was a little crazy and didn't like the Malfoy family very much, he didn't bully a child like this. Did he do something that angered the heavens and the people? Before Mad Eye figured it out, he saw the following scene. Professor McGonagle rushed out, she looked at Mad Eye in front of her angrily, and then waved her wand to change Malfoy back. The frightened Malfoy fled, and Mad Eye was still chasing him, but Professor McGonagle stopped him directly. Alastair. We never use transfiguration to punish students. Harry Potter, this is the first time I see Professor McGonagle so angry, and she still wants to protect the students of the Snake House she hates the most. Ron Weasley, so, Professor McGonagle said she wanted to turn me into a pocket watch to scare us. Hermione Granger, of course. Hogwarts office inside, Snape, McGonagall, Mad Eye and Dumbledore gathered together. The atmosphere at this moment was particularly serious. Only Professor McGonagall, her eyes were full of confusion, anger, and sadness. To hell with Barty and his rules, Albus, when did you start to cater to the Ministry of Magic? Use that child as bait? Potter is a child, not a piece of meat. Barty Crouch? Why do you have my business? Lily Potter, use Harry as bait? Lure who? Voldemort? No, Dumbledore, that's too anger, Harry is just a child. Minerva McGonagall, relax Lily, Albus will definitely refuse. Ron Weasley, that's right, and even if he really wants to find a bait, Headmaster Dumbledore will find Zhang Dong, not Harry. Zhang Dong. Hermione Granger, is there a possibility that Zhang Dong is too strong and Voldemort dares not come out? Ron Weasley, this. Voldemort is really useless. Tom Riddle, I can see it, Tima. Speaking of which, these guys are becoming less and less afraid of me now, and they even dare to call me by my name. But it's normal. One reason is that Hermione and Ron know that I won't let them go even if they don't call me by my name. The other reason is that Zhang Dong gives them confidence. Damn Zhang Dong! In the Great Hall of Hogwarts, Snape pulled out his wand in front of Harry. Harry had no time to dodge, but beside him, Professor McGonagall stood up at the first time and pulled out her wand and pointed it at Snape. Equals. At the same time she stood up, Dean Sprout and Dean Flitwick also stood beside her, and the three of them attacked Snape frantically at the same time. Snape was unable to withstand the siege of the three and flew away from Hogwarts. To read the exciting novel, go to FaluNovel Network. All the students were cheering, and at this moment, the Deputy Headmaster of Hogwarts, the Headmaster of Gryffindor, and the Professor of Transfiguration also became the Headmaster of Hogwarts. As the Headmaster of Hogwarts, she has been protecting her students all her life. James Potter, wait! Snape! What are you going to do? Severus Snape, I don't think I need to explain for a future that has not happened. James Potter, get out! Don't think I don't know who you are. You Death Eater! You betrayed us again! Betrayed Hogwarts! Severus Snape, Snape wanted to explain, but he knew he couldn't. Voldemort was also in this live broadcast room, and he had to show his loyalty to him, even if he would be hated by the person he missed the most. Someone was very happy. Tom Riddle, ha ha ha. Severus. Well done. You did a great job. Unfortunately, your strength is still not strong enough. But it doesn't matter, as long as you return to my command, the Headmaster of Hogwarts will be yours sooner or later. Harry Potter, Cornely Fudge, Minister Fudge, you saw it. Catch Snape. Cornely Fudge, I'm sorry, Harry, we can't arrest an innocent person for something that didn't happen. This is illegal and unreasonable. This is the bottom line. If the Ministry of Magic arrests a professor because of a video, he will lose his credibility forever. Similarly, this is why Zhang Dong did not directly vindicate Sirius in the video. The reason is that the video cannot be used as evidence, even if everyone believes it. However, in some cases, the video can also be used as evidence, but that requires the right time, right place, and right people. The students cheered for Professor McGonagall, but Professor McGonagall walked in front of Harry and looked at him, although he was no longer her student. Potter, you must have your reasons for coming back here. What do you need me to do? Time, Professor, the more the better. Hearing Harry's words, Professor McGonagall just nodded silently. Looking at the grown-up Harry, she seemed to return to that night 18 years ago. That night, the entire wizarding world was celebrating Voldemort's death, and she was the only one who stayed outside the Dursleys' house all night until Dumbledore came here with the baby who survived the disaster. Albus, do you think it's really a good idea to leave him to these people? I've observed them all day, and you can't imagine worse muggles than them. Time passed. She put the sorting hat on Harry and called out his school, Gryffindor. She discovered Harry's flying talent, let him join the Quidditch team, and gave him a Nimbus 2000. She maintained Harry's right to study and did not expel him, even though he violated more than 800 school rules. And today, looking at Harry in front of her, Professor McGonagle nodded with a firm look. Do what you should do, I will protect the castle. Looking at the scenes in the light screen, Harry couldn't help but shed tears. He realized that Professor McGonagle had helped him so much without realizing it. Jong Dong patted his shoulder and handed him a tissue. Although Harry's parents died early and he grew up in a bad family, he was surrounded by. There was never a lack of love. It was because of this that he did not become another Voldemort, but grew up to be the savior of the wizarding world. Standing in front of the gate of Hogwarts, feeling the increasingly heavy atmosphere, Professor Flitwick, the dual champion, couldn't help but look at Professor McGonagle nervously. You know very well that we can't resist the mysterious man for long. And Minerva said without looking back, but we can hold him back, and that man's name is Voldemort. Phileas, you should call him that, anyway, he will kill you anyway. Fearless, brave, and just, this is a true Gryffindor. At this time, this brave Gryffindor just turned around and used a spell that had been sealed for who knows how long. Stone pillar move. Bang! A lifelike stone statue jumped down from the wall of Hogwarts. As if they felt the call, one after another stone statue guards walked out from the wall, underground, and corridor. They have no life, but they marched in neat steps and came to Professor McGonagle in 2 lines. The stone pillars are out. The final defense magic of Hogwarts. It finally appeared in front of the world at this moment. Hogwarts is in danger. Build a defense line. Protect us. Do your duty for the school. All the stone statues are like soldiers who have received orders. Now they have only one goal, which is to fight to protect Hogwarts. All the soldiers walked outside, and looking at the backs of these stone statues, Professor McGonagle was as happy as a child who found a favorite toy. She secretly rubbed her hands and said to Molly beside her, I have wanted to try this spell for a long time. Fred Weasley, to be honest, I also want to try this spell. Draco Malfoy, but aren't you dead at this time? Fred Weasley, nonsense. I am definitely not dead at this time. My special doesn't say the specific time of my death. George Weasley, is that something to be proud of? Ron Weasley, but Professor McGonagall looks so happy. The last time I saw her like that was when we beat Slytherin in the Quidditch match. Seamus Finnegan, that's when I blew up the bridge. We were so cool. Tom Riddle, cool? I didn't see that. I only saw my resurrection. I saw you guys running away. I saw Hogwarts was vulnerable. Voldemort's words were like a hammer falling on everyone's heart. Yes, he was right, as can be seen from all the videos that have appeared so far. Voldemort has resurrected, and as for the wizarding world, seeing that it was the professors and students of Hogwarts who resisted Voldemort, then, the situation in other places can be imagined. And the picture has reached the last scene. It was a quiet evening after an unknown period of time. A student wearing Gryffindor robes accidentally found a diary in Gryffindor Tower. The cover of the diary has been eroded by time, but the name Minerva McGonagle can still be vaguely seen on the yellowed parchment. After opening the title page, there are lines of blurred fonts inside. Hogwarts is a living castle. This school is not just bricks and wooden beams. It has a soul. The children who have studied, laughed, and grown up here are all part of it. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. I remember how I felt when I first walked into Hogwarts. I was nervous and full of expectations. Dumbledore is the greatest person I have ever met in my life. I have never seen fear, confusion, and doubt on his face. He told me, Minerva, sometimes the hardest decision is not to fight, but to choose when to stop fighting. I finally understood this sentence until the last battle. Unfortunately, he is no longer here. He has been paving the way for each of us, even if this road is full of thorns. I miss his wisdom and humor very much. Harry Potter, that strange the boy who survived a catastrophe, he was treated with malice by the world, but he was always full of hope for the world. I was very strict with him, but I was also proud of him. He was like the son I never had. I just hope that he can live happily in the end. Hermione Granger, she is one of the smartest students I have ever taught. Her curiosity and thirst for knowledge are endless. I always have higher expectations for her because I know she can reach a higher level. She reminds me of my younger self, the girl who was eager for knowledge and eager to prove her worth. She will become the leader of our world. And Ron Weasley, he often feels that he is overshadowed by the light of Harry and Hermione. But he has the most noble and priceless quality, courage. Even if he doesn't realize it, at many moments, it is his strength that makes the three of them reach the end. I don't know what the future will be like, but I believe that Hogwarts will continue to exist. Every student and every teacher is the soul of this castle. Whether I can still stand here or not, I believe that one day there will be a new guardian to take over from me, just as I took over from those great predecessors. Some people once said that it is spells and wands that make us wizards, but I believe that love and courage are the real magic. They can defeat all darkness and lead us through the most difficult times. May every child who walks out of Hogwarts be able to carry this magic into their own future. On the battlefield of Hogwarts, under the gaze of all the teachers and students in the school, Professor McGonagle was the first to raise her wand and point it at the Death Eater mark in the sky. The picture freezes and the playback ends. Minerva McGonagle, so, am I dead? Died on the battlefield with Voldemort at the end. Jong Dong? This. I think you may have something misunderstanding, Professor McGonagle. Minerva McGonagle, don't comfort me, Jong Dong. It's nothing, I've been prepared for a long time, and I'm not afraid of this moment. It's the honor of every Gryffindor to die on the battlefield. Jong Dong, I really didn't comfort you. Well, the atmosphere of this personal special is indeed a bit depressing, and it's not surprising that there is such a misunderstanding. James Potter, my great Professor McGonagle, think about how I always caused trouble for you when I was in school. Now I think back, I'm so sorry for you. Minerva McGonagle, it's okay, compared to the trouble your son caused, your little thing at that time is nothing. Harry Potter. No, this can also be attributed to me. P.S. Actually, this paragraph is not in the outline. I can only say that it is a bit sudden, and Professor McGonagle is my favorite professor, so I can only say. Good night, Professor McGonagle. Your video shocked Harry Potter, you can get a reward, magic plus 10%. Well, the eternal magic boost has now been increased to 320%. Jong Dong continued to watch. Your video shocked Phileas Flitwick, you can get a reward, ground freeze, advanced. Your video shocked Severus Snape, you can get a reward, flying, advanced. 2 good advanced spells, especially flying, which is a spell that only Voldemort and Snape can use. Flesh flying is very useful. But compared to these two, the big head should be behind. As the protagonist of a personal special, Professor McGonagle's reward must be the best. Just when Jong Dong thought of this, he saw the following reward. Your video shocked Minerva McGonagle, you can get a reward, pet, magic cat, Yumi. What? Yumi? The cute auxiliary cat that was playing with me? Just when Jong Dong thought of this, he heard a cute little girl's voice in his arms. Ah! Are we going to save the world again? Jong Dong looked down and saw a light blue cat's head sticking out from his collar, looking at the world around with its cute big eyes. Yumi. Jong Dong felt a little itchy on his neck, so he took the kitten out. Yumi didn't struggle and let Jong Dong hold it in his arms. Jong Dong stroked the hair on its back and asked softly, "Are you the magic cat?" "I'm a tiger." Yumi opened his mouth and put on a fierce look, looking even cuter. Jong Dong. Well, if I didn't have this magic book, I would be a flying cat in Bandle City. Yumi tapped a thick magic book under his feet with his little paw. Jong Dong wanted to take a look at the book, but unfortunately, he couldn't understand it. Then, do you know what I am to you? We are killer partners. Yumi immediately became excited again. Jong Dong. Okay, I shouldn't say too much. Wow. So cute. A scream suddenly sounded, and then Hermione beside Jong Dong looked at Yumi with stars in her eyes. Hermione grabbed Jong Dong's arm excitedly and asked, "Jong Dong, is it your new pet?" "Sure enough, this is suitable for you. That ugly snake doesn't fit your Gryffindor identity at all. Can I touch it?" Before Jong Dong spoke, Yumi in his arms shouted. "No." "Why?" "Wait, you can talk. You smell like other cats." Yumi shouted loudly. She is a clean cat. Those who raise cats know that their own cats can smell the smell of other cats on the shit shoveler, and once they smell it, they will smell it. When they get there, they will turn around and leave. Hermione lowered her head in disappointment after hearing Yumi's words. Dong looked at Harry and Ron, who had already rushed to Hagrid to celebrate, and then looked at Professor McGonagle, who had already started to chase people back to the lounge. He then stood up and prepared to leave the hall. Before leaving, he looked at the delicacies on the table, then picked up 2 chicken legs and wrapped a grilled fish, then waved to Yumi and said, "Yumi, we're going back." "Okay." Yumi happily flew to Dong's shoulder, and her little nose kept sniffing Dong, as if to remember the smell. "Master, you smell delicious. Like grilled fish." "This is not a compliment." Dong gave the kitten a helpless look, and then walked out. Hermione could only smell her sleeves aggrievedly, as if to confirm whether there was any smell of Crookshanks on her body. To read the exciting novels, go to FaluNovel Network. The moment he walked out of the auditorium, Dong saw a big black dog pretending to pass by with its head down and smelling something at the corner. Dong smiled and threw the 2 chicken legs he had just wrapped over. Seeing this, Yumi on Dong's shoulder immediately grumbled unhappily, "Yeah, sure enough, you like dogs more, right? Don't make a fuss, this is yours." Dong handed the wrapped grilled fish to Yumi. Sure enough, as soon as she saw the grilled fish, Yumi threw away her unhappiness just now and concentrated on dealing with the fish. She had just arrived here and was hungry. Dong looked at the big black dog with a cautious look on his face and said, "Don't worry, Hogwarts doesn't need you to eat a bite, just don't eat those dead mice or bugs." Woof! The big dog immediately looked at Dong with a fierce look, as if it would pounce on him and bite him in the next second. But Dong just smiled faintly and said, "Don't act like that. Aren't you quite docile when you become a dog? Also, if I were you, I would go to Lupin first to make things clear, otherwise, you might be in trouble." After saying that, Dong left here without looking back, leaving only a dull big black dog standing there drooling. He looked at Dong's back as he left, then looked at the 2 chicken legs on the ground, lowered his head, picked up the 2 chicken legs and left here. When Dong returned to the dormitory, Harry, Ron, Neville and Seamus had already returned. "Dong, you're back, cat." "It's a cat." Ron was about to say hello when he saw the magic cat on Dong's shoulder. He was so scared that he quickly took Ban back more than 10 steps. "What a fuss." Dong rolled his eyes at Ron, then took Yumi off his shoulder and said, "Friendly reminder, owls and snakes also eat mice." "What?" Ron subconsciously glanced at Hedwig, who was combing her hair beside the windowsill, and then hugged Scabbers tighter. "Dong, don't scare Ron. He's been a little neurotic recently," Harry said helplessly, and then looked at Yumi in Dong's hand curiously. "Dong, this is... My name is Yumi." Yumi greeted everyone obediently. When Yumi spoke, everyone, including Scabbers in Ron's arms, froze in place. Neville looked at the cute kitten in front of him and stuttered, It can talk. What's wrong with talking? You are wizards." Dong looked like you had little experience, and then carried Yumi to his bed. Looking at Dong's calm appearance, several people looked at each other. "No, do you know what a talking cat means? Forget cats. Even phoenixes, birds, snakes and invisible beasts can't talk. I can only say that Dong is worthy of it. No matter how abnormal things are, they seem so normal when they happen to him." Only Scabbers secretly complained. Hermione had Crookshanks, Sirius escaped from prison, and even Dong had a talking cat. It was impossible to live like this. The Divination classroom is located at the top of Hogwarts, at the end of the silver staircase, in a small classroom. There are about 20 small round tables, each of which can accommodate 4 people, but 80 seats are obviously too many. After all, Divination is just an elective course, and it is good to have 30 students to study. Most of them are here because it is easy to pass the final exam and it is easy to get credits. At least Harry and Ron think so. In the middle of the classroom, a woman with messy hair, thin figure and various strange decorations on her body stood up. "Welcome here, children," Trelawney said in her rhythmic voice. "Here, you will study the mysterious and excellent subject of divination. Here, you will learn how to use vision to predict the future." Trelawney took a step forward and bumped into the corner of the table. Her face changed in pain, but she forced herself to control her expression. Looking at this scene, Zhang Dong just wanted to say that every liar is a master of expression management. After Trelawney finished her opening speech, Zhang Dong led everyone to applaud. Hermione on the side was confused when she saw Zhang Dong applauding. Why did you applaud after she said something? Why do I feel like she is a liar? Trelawney was very satisfied with everyone's attitude. She waved her hand to signal everyone to be quiet, and then continued. This semester, our focus is to learn tea divination, learning how to predict the future based on the shape of tea stains. Okay, everyone will exchange teacups in pairs. Zhang Dong, this is my teacup. Hermione handed the teacup to Zhang Dong. And Zhang Dong also silently handed the teacup in his hand to Hermione. When did you two come here? Ron shouted and looked at Zhang Dong and Hermione beside him. It seemed that he had just discovered the two people. Seeing Ron startled, Zhang Dong looked at him helplessly and said. You've been here for a long time. You don't think I'll give up the divination class, do you? By the way, I forgot that you have a strong talent for divination. Ron nodded, and then he excitedly stuffed the teacup in his hand to Zhang Dong and said, Zhang Dong, help me check my tea stains and see if I can make a fortune in the future. Defeat? You and I can't tell, but your brothers will definitely not be poor in the future. Zhang Dong didn't even bother to take a look. And Ron also lowered his head to study Harry's teacup dejectedly. As for the side, Professor Trelawney has already started his own operation. He walked to Neville first, and then asked sinisterly, Kid, how is your grandmother? Not bad. Neville answered honestly. Really? I don't think so. Trelawney took Neville's cup and looked at it, then said with a meaningful look, regret. Neville was frightened and quickly took his teacup and looked it up and down, but he couldn't see anything. So. Zhang Dong. Check out how my grandma is doing. Neville turned around and ran to Zhang Dong's side. Just kidding, he didn't know what level of prediction Trelawney had, but he knew Zhang Dong's strength very well. Zhang Dong was very upset. Wait until you get back to the dormitory before asking. If you ask like this, won't it ruin the party if I tell you? Although Trelawney looked crazy, Zhang Dong knew that she was really capable. But looking at the nervous Neville, this child was really filial. So Zhang Dong still told him, it's nothing, she will twist her waist in a few days. Neville. That's it. That's it. That's it. Neville returned to his seat with the teacup. Hey? Watching the conversation between Neville and Zhang Dong, Trelawney couldn't help but glance at Zhang Dong. This kid is not simple. Trelawney had heard about Zhang Dong from Dumbledore a long time ago, but she didn't take it seriously. There are many people with the gift of prophecy, but there are almost no people who surpass her. So she came to Lavender again, looked at her teacup, touched her head with regret and said, Poor child, on October 16th, the thing you are most worried about will happen. Zhang Dong. Lavender also imitated Neville and was about to run towards Zhang Dong. Zhang Dong quickly stretched out his hand to stop her and said, Your rabbit is dying, you will receive this news on October 16th. What? My lovely rabbit. Zhang Dong, you must save it. Lavender looked at Zhang Dong with tears in her eyes. To read the most exciting novels, go to FaluNovel Network. Unfortunately, Zhang Dong had no other choice but to hand the rabbit to him. He could only turn it into a spicy rabbit head before it died. You should ask Madame Pomfrey for help. But I don't think Madame Pomfrey can do anything, after all, she is not a veterinarian. Okay. Woohoo! My lovely rabbit. Looking at Lavender crying and sad, the classmates on the side were comforting her. And this time, Trelawney changed her face. No one knows prophecy better than her. The so-called prophecy is usually vague, making people wonder. How can Zhang Dong put the result in front of others so clearly? Zhang Dong did it on purpose. He didn't deliberately destroy Trelawney's stage. He said before that he had no opinion on Trelawney. He just wanted to test whether Trelawney's prophecy was a divine timeline or Schrodinger's cat. She said that on October 16th, Lavender would receive the thing that worried her the most, and he told her the news in advance, so what would happen to Lavender on October 16th? Was it the news that the rabbit was dead because there was no hope of saving it, or was it the news that the rabbit was alive and nothing happened? He was really curious. Trelawney came directly to Zhang Dong this time. She looked at Zhang Dong, then took the cup that belonged to Hermione in his hand, and then her hand loosened. Snap! The cup fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Not good. Everyone became nervous. Just now Trelawney made a fuss. Lavender had a dead rabbit. Now a cup broke. Isn't that? Then Trelawney pointed at Hermione and said tremblingly, "You, after Easter, will leave us forever." "What? Leave forever? Isn't that?" Hermione, Harry, Ron, and the others all looked at Zhang Dong, and then they saw Zhang Dong calmly said, "Nothing, Hermione thinks Professor Trelawney is a liar, and she won't come to the divination class after Easter." Everyone. "Damn, she's leaving forever like this." The divination classroom is located at the top of Hogwarts, at the end of the silver staircase, in a small classroom. There are about 20 small round tables, each of which can accommodate 4 people, but 80 seats are obviously too many. After all, divination is just an elective course, and it is good to have 30 students to study. Most of them are here because it is easy to pass the final exam and it is easy to get credits. At least Harry and Ron think so. In the middle of the classroom, a woman with messy hair, thin figure, and various strange decorations on her body stood up. "Welcome here, children," Trelawney said in her rhythmic voice. "Here, you will study the mysterious and excellent subject of divination. Here, you will learn how to use vision to predict the future." Trelawney took a step forward and bumped into the corner of the table. Her face changed in pain, but she forced herself to control her expression. Looking at this scene, Zhang Dong just wanted to say that every liar is a master of expression management. After Trelawney finished her opening speech, Zhang Dong led everyone to applaud. Hermione on the side was confused when she saw Zhang Dong applauding. "Why did you applaud after she said something? Why do I feel like she is a liar?" Trelawney was very satisfied with everyone's attitude. She waved her hand to signal everyone to be quiet, and then continued. "This semester, our focus is to learn tea divination, learning how to predict the future based on the shape of tea stains. Okay, everyone will exchange teacups in pairs. Zhang Dong, this is my teacup." Hermione handed the teacup to Zhang Dong. And Zhang Dong also silently handed the teacup in his hand to Hermione. "When did you two come here?" Ron shouted and looked at Zhang Dong and Hermione beside him. It seemed that he had just discovered the two people. Seeing Ron startled, Zhang Dong looked at him helplessly and said, "You've been here for a long time. You don't think I'll give up the divination class, do you? By the way, I forgot that you have a strong talent for divination." Ron nodded, and then he excitedly stuffed the teacup in his hand to Zhang Dong and said, "Zhang Dong, help me check my tea stains and see if I can make a fortune in the future." "Defeat? You and I can't tell, but your brothers will definitely not be poor in the future." Zhang Dong didn't even bother to take a look. And Ron also lowered his head to study Harry's teacup dejectedly. As for the side, Professor Trelawney has already started his own operation. He walked to Neville first, and then asked sinisterly, "Kid, how is your grandmother?" Not bad." Neville answered honestly. "Really? I don't think so." Trelawney took Neville's cup and looked at it, then said with a meaningful look, "Regret." "Ah." Neville was frightened and quickly took his teacup and looked it up and down, but he couldn't see anything. "So. Zhang Dong. Check out how my grandma is doing." Neville turned around and ran to Zhang Dong's side. Just kidding, he didn't know what level of prediction Trelawney had, but he knew Zhang Dong's strength very well. Zhang Dong was very upset. "Wait until you get back to the dormitory before asking. If you ask like this, won't it ruin the party if I tell you?" Although Trelawney looked crazy, Zhang Dong knew that she was really capable. But looking at the nervous Neville, this child was really filial. So Zhang Dong still told him, "It's nothing, she will twist her waist in a few days." "Neville. That's it. That's it. That's it." Neville returned to his seat with the teacup. "Hey?" Watching the conversation between Neville and Zhang Dong, Trelawney couldn't help but glance at Zhang Dong. This kid is not simple. Trelawney had heard about Zhang Dong from Dumbledore a long time ago, but she didn't take it seriously. There are many people with the gift of prophecy, but there are almost no people who surpass her. So she came to Lavender again, looked at her teacup, touched her head with regret and said, "Poor child, on October 16th, the thing you are most worried about will happen." "Ah." Zhang Dong. Lavender also imitated Neville and was about to run towards Zhang Dong. Zhang Dong quickly stretched out his hand to stop her and said, "Your rabbit is dying, you will receive this news on October 16th. What? My lovely rabbit? Zhang Dong, you must save it." Lavender looked at Zhang Dong with tears in her eyes. To read the most exciting novels, go to FluNovel Network. Unfortunately, Zhang Dong had no other choice but to hand the rabbit to him. He could only turn it into a spicy rabbit head before it died. "You should ask Madame Pomfrey for help." "But I don't think Madame Pomfrey can do anything, after all, she is not a veterinarian." "Okay. Woohoo! My lovely rabbit." Looking at Lavender crying and sad, the classmates on the side were comforting her. And this time, Trelawney changed her face. No one knows prophecy better than her. The so-called prophecy is usually vague, making people wonder. How can Zhang Dong put the result in front of others so clearly? Zhang Dong did it on purpose. He didn't deliberately destroy Trelawney's stage. He said before that he had no opinion on Trelawney. He just wanted to test whether Trelawney's prophecy was a divine timeline or Schrodinger's cat. She said that on October 16th, Lavender would receive the thing that worried her the most, and he told her the news in advance. So what would happen to Lavender on October 16th? Was it the news that the rabbit was dead because there was no hope of saving it, or was it the news that the rabbit was alive and nothing happened? He was really curious. Trelawney came directly to Zhang Dong this time. She looked at Zhang Dong, then took the cup that belonged to Hermione in his hand, and then her hand loosened. Snap! The cup fell to the ground and broke into pieces. Not good. Everyone became nervous. Just now Trelawney made a fuss. Lavender had a dead rabbit. Now a cup broke. Isn't that? Then Trelawney pointed at Hermione and said tremblingly, "You, after Easter, will leave us forever." "What? Leave forever? Isn't that?" Hermione, Harry, Ron, and the others all looked at Zhang Dong, and then they saw Zhang Dong calmly said, "Nothing, Hermione thinks Professor Trelawney is a liar, and she won't come to the divination class after Easter." Everyone. Damn, she's leaving forever like this. Trelawney felt that her position was challenged. This was too much of a spoiler. How could you predict like this? The atmosphere I had worked so hard to create was ruined. No, I want to seek an explanation for my reputation. Trelawney picked up another teacup on the table. This time, it was Harry's teacup. Picked up the teacup and looked at it. She threw it away in panic. The ominous prediction was made in one go. This one looked very experienced. "My dear child, you are ominous." Trelawney looked at Harry. Harry smiled calmly after listening to Trelawney's prediction. Here she comes again. It's the same routine again. I'm used to it. Harry looked at Zhang Dong with a smile and asked, "Zhang Dong, tell her, what bad luck will happen to me? Is it a sprained ankle or a dead cat? Or I will not come to class anymore." 250. "Oh, you're dead," Zhang Dong said faintly. "Did you hear that? I'm just dead, dead." Harry looked at Zhang Dong beside him with wide eyes. Not only Harry, but also other students on the side. Harry will die. Oh my god, how is this possible? But, Trelawney may make a mistake, but Zhang Dong will never make a mistake. So, Harry is really dead. Zhang Dong, don't joke. Hermione was also a little scared. The reason why she didn't attend the divination class later was because Trelawney said Harry would die. She thought Trelawney was a liar. But Zhang Dong will never make a mistake. That doesn't mean. Harry. Ron hugged his good brother, tears falling. Even Harry turned pale, but soon, he looked ready to die. When he changed his words and called Voldemort's name, he had already put life and death aside. Zhang Dong was right. Harry would definitely die. He was Voldemort's Horcrux. Only by dying once could he completely destroy this Horcrux. But what Zhang Dong didn't say was that Harry died and came back to life. Looking at Harry's pale face, Zhang Dong patted his shoulder and comforted him, "Don't worry, the reason why the future is that it is not certain. No one said that the future cannot be changed. Look at Lavender's rabbit. It has the opportunity to change its own destiny, let alone you, a living person. This, well." Harry nodded and regained his courage. Seeing Harry walk out of the ashes, Trelawney looked at Zhang Dong again. It seemed that it was time for her to use her ultimate move. "Professor Trelawney, why are you looking at me like that?" Zhang Dong was a little curious. Why are you looking at me instead of my teacup? Then, he saw Trelawney suddenly twitching as if she had dysentery. A mountain of corpses, a sea of blood, there will be bones all over your feet. The Third Wizarding War. The dead will be resurrected. The living will live in the underworld. Ah! Trelawney suddenly yelled and sat down on the ground, and then her whole body returned to her original appearance. She pinched her throat, like a drowning person. Ka! Ka! Oh! Hey! After a long time, she got up from the ground again. Her eyes were full of confusion. Maybe she didn't know what she said. She looked around in confusion, and then asked in a low voice, "Did I just do something strange?" The little wizards around kept nodding, and Zhang Dong also recovered from silence. He was not scared by Trelawney, he just felt. "Can't you make your words clearer?" Zhang Dong and Trelawney looked at each other, and Zhang Dong took a deep breath and said, "You gave me a prophecy, and I will give you one in return." Zhang Dong reached out and took out a cigarette from his bag. With a snap of his fingers, the cigarette lit up by itself. Zhang Dong did not inhale, but let the cigarette burn quickly, turning into a cloud of smoke and flying into the air. Everyone looked at the smoke, and saw a picture in the smoke. That was Professor Trelawney, but she was quite down and out at the moment. Her box was thrown in the corridor of Hogwarts, and she, holding the worn-out bag, said as if she was about to cry, "To read the violent novel, go to FaluNovel Network. 16 years, 16 years, I have taught here for 16 years, Hogwarts is my home, you can't do this." The smoke dispersed here. It must be said that Grindelwald's hand was obviously not as good as the light curtain, but it was enough for everyone to see clearly. Professor Trelawney was fired. No. Dumbledore. I want to find Dumbledore. I have made contributions to Hogwarts. I want to see the headmaster. After saying that, Trelawney was about to run out of the classroom. When she ran out, the bell for the end of get out of class rang. Haha. Zhang Dong couldn't help laughing. Trelawney should scare her. Although Trelawney has real skills, teaching is just a scam. If the 10 worst teachers in Hogwarts are reviewed, she will definitely be on the list. Knowing that she will be expelled in the future, she will at least teach something useful honestly. But the premise is that she really can. Otherwise, she should switch to teaching Quidditch. At least her pitching is very accurate. After class, everyone walked towards the restaurant with laughter and chatter. Today's class really opened everyone's eyes. At least they believe that prophecy is real. But because of this, Harry was not very happy along the way. This is normal. If anyone knows that they are going to die in the future, they will probably be in a bad mood. How good will it be? Hermione also tried to comfort him. "Don't worry, Harry, to be honest, before this class, I always thought that divination was not worth pondering. Broaden your thinking and use your third eye to see the future." Ha 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 ha, Professor Riini will probably be scared by other people's third eyes now. Harry and Ron couldn't help laughing, and even Zhang Dong couldn't help laughing. 3.5. When the 4 of them arrived at the restaurant, Dumbledore and Trelawney had already arrived. Trelawney still looked like she was about to cry, and Dumbledore was smiling awkwardly beside her. Judging from his lip shape, he should be saying, "Don't worry, Sybil, Hogwarts is your home, I won't expel you." But I don't know whether Trelawney believed it or not. And Dumbledore could only look at Trelawney helplessly, then looked around and set his eyes on Zhang Dong. The moment he saw Zhang Dong, he waved to him as if he had seen a savior. "Ah!" Zhang Dong sighed, then motioned Hermione to help him save a seat, and then walked towards Dumbledore and the others. "Dumbledore, I don't think he would let him go to coax Trelawney, right? Principal Dumbledore, Professor Trelawney." Zhang Dong nodded slightly to the 2 of them. And Dumbledore also nodded to Zhang Dong and said, "Zhang Dong, I heard from Professor Trelawney that you predicted her in class just now. Is this against school rules?" Zhang Dong blinked and looked at Dumbledore innocently. Dumbledore shook his head, "Of course not, I just want to ask you, are you willing to be an assistant teacher in divination like you were Lockhart's assistant last year?" "Hey? No, my predictions can't be taught." Zhang Dong directly rejected Dumbledore's suggestion. He can teach defense against the dark arts, but divination is different. He relies on talent for predictions, and there is a little trick, how to teach this thing. In the first class, Zhang Dong stood on the stage and said to everyone, "Today I will teach you divination. First, you need to have a system. Is this reasonable? Seeing Zhang Dong's refusal, Dumbledore was obviously a little disappointed. However, Zhang Dong found that Trelawney on the side seemed very happy. This is normal. Originally, after Umbridge was driven away, Trelawney resumed her position as a divination professor, but at that time, the centaur Frunza had already served as the professor of divination, and Dumbledore was embarrassed to drive the centaur away. As a result, he divided the divination class into two and let the two professors teach half each, but Trelawney was still unwilling. Zhang Dong didn't understand. You can get the full salary for doing half of the work. What's wrong with you? If it were him, he would have been happy. But Dumbledore looked like a pity. He actually thought highly of Zhang Dong. Looking at the expressions of the two, Zhang Dong suddenly had an idea and said, Principal Dumbledore, Professor Trelawney, you know, I accidentally signed up for all the elective courses, but when school started, I found that many courses were held at the same time, such as ancient runes and divination classes, which made me a little overwhelmed, so... Wait! Didn't I apply for a time converter for you? Dumbledore immediately understood what Zhang Dong meant. Boy, do you want to be lazy? If you don't work hard when you are young, you will be sad when you are old. Dumbledore is so optimistic about Zhang Dong, how could he allow this to happen? He wanted to refuse on the spot, but... Ask for leave? No problem, I agree. Professor Trelawney said immediately. Zhang Dong even felt a little impatient in her words. Of course Trelawney was a little impatient, she was really scared by Zhang Dong's actions today. She even had a premonition that this guy would sabotage her every time she made a prediction. If this continued, how could she save face? Besides, considering Zhang Dong's talent, it would be a waste of time to attend classes. It would be better to let him do something he wants to do. This way, it would be good for both of us. Dumbledore turned his head and looked at Professor Trelawney helplessly. Sybil, Zhang Dong is a good seedling, you can't. Albus, do you understand prophecy? I understand a little. That means I don't understand. It's useless to learn prophecy alone. Besides, I don't think I can teach him anything. This sentence is true. Trelawney herself doesn't think she can teach others anything. She is not really crazy. Do you really think she is willing to talk nonsense all day long? Isn't it because it is more in line with her personality? Albus, I think I still have this power. This, okay. What else can Dumbledore say? He can only nod in agreement. Seeing Dumbledore nod, Trelawney left here with satisfaction. Before leaving, she gently patted Zhang Dong on the shoulder and said, although you don't have to come, I won't give you an O if you don't pass the final exam. You understand this, right? Of course, don't worry. Zhang Dong nodded, indicating that he knew. Trelawney left with satisfaction, and watching Trelawney leave, Dumbledore secretly said to Zhang Dong, if you expose your prophecy talent like this, aren't you afraid of trouble coming to you? Dumbledore pointed a finger at the sky, and the meaning was very clear. And Zhang Dong just smiled and said, if I was afraid of trouble, I wouldn't come to Hogwarts. Of course he knew that exposing his prophecy talent like this might make others associate him with the light curtain, but with his current strength, he didn't care anymore. Voldemort, Grindelwald and Dumbledore were not afraid of the Ministry of Magic. If he was afraid first, he would really be sorry for the system. Seeing Zhang Dong like this, Dumbledore nodded. He actually didn't take the Ministry of Magic seriously. Even if the Ministry of Magic joined forces, he could still take them down by himself. As for Voldemort and his Death Eaters? It doesn't matter. Whether Zhang Dong is exposed or not, they will not let Zhang Dong go. Zhang Dong smiled at Dumbledore and walked towards his seat. No need to go to divination class, great. To read the exciting novels, go to FaluNovel Network. Sitting back in his seat, Hermione on the side couldn't help but whispered, Zhang Dong, did Headmaster Dumbledore reprimand you? Not only Hermione thought so, but others also thought so. After all, if it were Harry and Snape, the tit-for-tat between Zhang Dong and Professor Trelawney today would probably start at least 50 points. However, Zhang Dong just shook his head and said lightly, don't worry, Professor Trelawney and Headmaster Dumbledore are not so stingy, let's eat. Okay. Seeing Zhang Dong's calm look, Hermione nodded and prepared to eat. And Zhang Dong silently took out his mobile phone from his pocket to celebrate that he would not have to go to divination class in the future. Let's play a video to celebrate. By the way, what class is tomorrow? Oh, Hagrid's magical creatures class, it seems that it's time to remind him. Dong didn't forget that just because Buckbeak scratched Malfoy, this guy was going to cut Buckbeak's head off to make soup. Hagrid has helped him raise magical animals for 2 years, so he must help if he can. So the next second, a light curtain appeared in front of everyone in the sky, and instantly, everyone focused on the light curtain. At this time, they also saw the title above. Hagrid's Magical Creatures Class. Hagrid, my Magical Creatures Class? But I haven't had time to attend the first class yet. James Potter, this means that the class shown this time is your future Magical Creatures class. With your level, Hagrid, this Magical Creatures class must be very interesting. Roops Hagrid, not really, hehe, although I also believe that my class will be very interesting. Newt's Commander, Magical Creatures class? Oh, it's really full of nostalgia. This was my favorite class back then. If it weren't for that incident, I would have stayed at Hogwarts as a magical creatures professor. Albus Dumbledore, this is indeed a pity for Hogwarts. Newt's Commander, it's really a pity, but by the way, Albus Dumbledore, Headmaster Dumbledore, I want to go to Hogwarts to see the basilisk recently. Is it convenient for you? Albus Dumbledore, you shouldn't ask me this question. After all, I am not its owner. You should ask him, Dong. Newt's Commander, sorry, I overstepped my authority. Dong, can I observe the basilisk up close? Dong, of course, but you still have to be prepared. I don't think I need to remind you of this. Newt's Commander, haha, of course, don't worry, I still have this trick. Newt is very happy. 1,000-year-old basilisk, which magical zoologist doesn't want to touch it? In fact, after the basilisk incident, Hagrid took over the job of raising the basilisk. This guy has no hobbies. He doesn't like women, power, or money. Let alone anything else, a unicorn tail hair costs 10 galleons. Hagrid's house directly hangs a broom made of unicorn tail hair. Later, when he and Slughorn were drinking happily, he directly gave the broom worth tens of thousands of galleons to the other party. It is enough to see that Hagrid is really a man of no desire. He only has the hobby of feeding magical animals. If one day he is accidentally eaten by a magical animal, Dong will not be surprised. Just when Dong thought of Hagrid, Hagrid's magical animal class began to play in the light curtain. In front of the hunting lodge, Hagrid was happily gathering a group of young wizards. This was his first magical animal class, so he was naturally very excited. Come on, there's something good to show you today. Are you all here? Okay, follow me. Hagrid couldn't wait to lead the students to the edge of the Forbidden Forest. Students, please keep quiet and divide into 2 groups. By the way, don't forget to open the Monster Book of Monsters to page 49. How do you open this book? Malfoy asked lazily. Of course, touch them along the spine, really. Hagrid explained casually, as if he was dissatisfied with Malfoy coming to class without even reading the instructions. Then, Neville took the book upside down, and stroked it against the spine, and was knocked to the ground by the monster book. Ah! Neville screamed in fear, and Dong, who was passing by, couldn't help asking, "Are you okay, Longbottom?" Neville quickly closed the book with force, gasping for breath and said, I'm fine. Frank Longbottom, be careful tomorrow, Neville, that book is very fierce, don't let it bite you, it is said that a poor guy had his finger bitten off by it that year. Neville Longbottom, okay, Dad, I will pay attention tomorrow. Hagrid asked the little wizards to form groups on the spot, and he entered the venue first to start preparing for the class. Looking at Hagrid's back, Draco Malfoy shouted, "Oh my god, this school seems to be over. If my father knew that Dumbledore let this idiot teach, it would be a big deal." "Shut up, Malfoy." Harry walked out from between Hermione and Ron. "Whoa!" Malfoy screamed twice, and then walked towards Harry with a rather elegant step. The two of them got closer and closer, and the sunlight falling on them was surprisingly harmonious and beautiful. On the screen, high-level bullet comments flashed by. Famous scene check-in. The source of the love head. Where is the head-pressing team? The young master walked towards Harry with high spirits for the last time. This damn love. Draco Malfoy, what the hell? Who posted these bullet comments? What is a love head? Why is it the last one? And the head-pressing guy? Come out. Gregory Goyle, but Malfoy, you two really look good together, we didn't even realize you're so handsome. Draco Malfoy, I've always been handsome. Pansy Parkinson, this. Draco Malfoy, Draco, you don't really like Harry. No wonder I always feel that you care too much about him, I heard that some boys always use this method to attract girls' attention. Harry Potter, Draco Malfoy, shut up. X2. Gregory Goyle, look. You two are so good together. I realized after Pansy said that whenever Harry Potter was around, Malfoy's eyes never left him. Draco Malfoy, shut up. I told you to shut up. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. At the Slytherin dinner table, Malfoy had already pressed Goyle on the table with both hands and glared at him fiercely. It's fine if others say so, but you are just asking for death. It's not your fault that everyone thinks wrongly, it's England, those who understand will understand, although the relationship between people is not as magical as it is in the 21st century, but it's not strange to be gay at this time. If you don't believe me, look up and see that, Zhao Good, a white-bearded old man. Hermione even saw a trace of relief in his eyes. Hermione subconsciously pulled Zhang Dong's arm and said, Zhang Dong, should we help Harry speak up? Hey? No, everyone is just joking. Zhang Dong said without raising his head, and then one hand kept sliding on the phone. If Hermione could see Zhang Dong's mobile phone screen, she would definitely see the titles of the videos that flashed by. Diha, the wind is blowing, I will finally give my youth back to him. Malfoy, I have been looking forward to your entire childhood. In short, the savior will answer any request. Slytherin's paper crane will only fly to the one they love. Zhang Dong couldn't help but mutter while sliding the screen. Damn, how come Diha's video has such a high number of views? Who is teasing them? Liang. Harry and Malfoy have come together. Just when they are about to kiss, Malfoy's face suddenly changes. He points to the sky and shouts. Dementor! Dementor! Harry turned around in panic as if he was frightened. However, the sky was still clear, and there was no sign of Dementors. Ha ha ha! Malfoy laughed, and Goyle and Crabbe beside him also laughed. When Harry turned around, the three of them put on the hats of their wizard robes and floated around pretending to be Dementors. Harry Potter, boring. Draco Malfoy, haha. That's right. Potter, who faced the you-know-who twice, was actually afraid of a small Dementor. How interesting. Harry Potter, Tom Riddle, Voldemort, what he meant was that you are no match for the Dementors. That's right, how can a mere Voldemort be compared with the terrible Dementors? Tom Riddle, what? Draco Malfoy, is that what you mean? Lucius Malfoy, of course not, sir, he is just young and full of energy and wants to vent your anger for you. Tom Riddle, haha. Harry Potter, Cornely Fudge, Minister Fudge, look, the Malfoy family is actually calling Lord Voldemort, put them in Azkaban. Cornely Fudge, this. It's a pity Harry, the wizarding world does not punish people for their speech. Lucius and Draco quickly shut up and refused to speak again. After all, Voldemort is still a ghost and can't help them. Ron silently gave Harry a thumbs up. Well done. Ahem. Hagrid's dry cough quieted the noisy little wizards. Oh ho ho! Hagrid groaned, and a dozen strange-looking animals ran towards them. The little wizards had never seen such animals before. They had the body of a horse but the head of an eagle. Especially behind them, a pair of huge wings gently waved. Their feet were not horse hooves, but eagle claws. Newt Scamander, hippogriffs are XXX magical animals native to Europe. These hippogriffs, Bog, are well trained, Professor Hagrid. Roops Hagrid, ha ha ha, you are worthy of it, Newt. Hagrid was very proud. He did train these hippogriffs very well. But Newt suddenly changed the subject, but Professor Hagrid, although hippogriffs eat insects and rodents, they are XXX magical animals after all. Would it be dangerous to teach third-year wizards? I mean, it's a little more difficult. Roops Hagrid, ha ha ha. How could it be? Don't worry, Buckbeak and the others are very obedient. Seeing this, Zhang Dong couldn't help but cover his mouth. I don't want to look at Hagrid. Newt is right, the hippogriff is a XXX magical creature, and this level of magical creature is already capable of killing an adult. You are really brave to teach this to a group of third-grade wizards. As I said, Hagrid is a good magical zoologist, but definitely not a good teacher, mainly because as a half-giant, he is too insensitive to danger. Newt is also helpless, he can only say, I still think it's better to start with Augur, Flobberworm, or Bowtruckle. The 3 types Newt mentioned are all 1-star or 2-star magical creatures. I have to say that Newt's choices are obviously much more reasonable. Buckbeak. Hagrid called a hippogriff over, then looked at the little wizards in front of him excitedly and said, Okay, who wants to come? Obviously, no one was willing, not even Harry, the Quidditch seeker. Good job, Harry. Good job. Hagrid looked at Harry in front of him happily. Harry turned around with a confused look on his face, and found that at some point, everyone took a step back in unison, and even the timid Neville squatted down and disappeared in the crowd. Only he, who was standing at the front, stood there innocently, motionless, and looked like he had taken a step forward. Seeing Harry's gaze, Ron, as a good brother, stood up and pushed Harry out with his little hand. Harry Potter. Seamus Finnegan, Aldrin of Friendship. Neville Longbottom, Harry, you must understand me, right? Harry Potter, you guys just back off, Ron. Why did you push me? Ron Weasley, come on Harry. I have full trust in you. No one knows you better than me. Come on. Harry Potter, the clown is me. Hagrid, haha, don't worry Harry, Buckbeak is very gentle. Hee. Harry knows Hagrid too well. He doesn't trust this man who keeps a giant acromantula in the Forbidden Forest at all. Harry walked forward a little uneasily, while Hagrid instructed and encouraged him, Okay Harry, you have already met its gaze, don't blink, otherwise the hippogriff will not trust you. Harry looked at Buckbeak in front of him obediently. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. And Hagrid continued, Now, bow. Although Harry was reluctant to expose his neck to Buckbeak, he still chose to trust Hagrid and bowed deeply to Buckbeak, then quickly raised his head. Okay. Hagrid's tone was somewhat expectant, wait and see if it will return the favor. Will magical animals return the favor? The little wizards were talking about it in disbelief, but to everyone's surprise unexpectedly, Buckbeak bent his front knees slightly, lowered his head deeply, and made a standard bow. Ron Weasley, wow! It's so elegant. Harry Potter, then I'll let you try it tomorrow. Ron Weasley, no need, I'll just take a look. Good job. Harry. Hagrid shouted excitedly, Okay Harry, you can go up and pat its head. Harry thought it would be better to reward him by taking a step back, but he still walked towards Buckbeak, stretched out his hand and patted its head gently. Hagrid on the side also nodded with satisfaction, Very good Harry. It's time for you to write it. Hey. Harry was stunned, Hagrid, are you serious? Me, write it? Can I take the flying broom to class tomorrow? Very good Harry, I think it will let you write it. Hagrid said, and carried Harry directly onto Buckbeak's back. Hey. Wait. Hagrid. Harry was not prepared at all. He wanted Hagrid to stop, but unfortunately, Hagrid would never listen to him. He chose Hagrid to try writing directly. After putting Harry down, he did not give Harry a chance to refute. He slapped Buckbeak's butt hard, and Buckbeak chirped and flew directly into the sky. Harry Potter, Hagrid. I'm not ready yet. Roops Hagrid, don't worry, Harry, it'll be fine. Buckbeak didn't fly too high. He'll just break a bone if he falls down. James Potter, that's you. Harry is still a child. If he falls down from a height of several hundred meters, he will probably be smashed into a meat pie. Roops Hagrid, I believe in Harry. James Potter. What else can he say? Hagrid believes in Harry, how can he not believe in his own son? Ron Weasley, compared to this, I'm more curious about what that husky is. Jongdong, a very smart and cute dog, also called Siberian Husky, is one of the oldest dog breeds in the world. Jongdong said as he waved his wand, and Ron's cup in front of him turned into a handsome black and white dog. Wow! Seamus exclaimed, this is the most handsome dog I have ever seen. Can I have one? Have one. Jongdong looked at Seamus deeply, I think you are crazy. Husky is handsome, but this character. Jongdong could only remind him tactfully, do you mind raising a Peeves at home? Hey? Seamus was stunned for a moment, and then immediately reacted. Then he covered his mouth tightly and never talked about raising a husky again. Peeves, that is really hated by people and dogs. The 12-foot-long wings slowly spread, and Buckbeak, a hippogriff, soared in the sky. This feeling is completely different from riding a flying broom. It doesn't have the perfect sense of control when riding a flying broom, but it is more stable and more comfortable. Buckbeak flew to the top of the Hogwarts castle, and the beautiful school was in full view. Buckbeak flew to the lake of Hogwarts, and Harry could even see the fish in the lake clearly. The wind passed by his ears, and Harry felt unprecedented freedom. He let go of Buckbeak's hand, opened his arms, and bathed in the sunlight with the Tyndall effect. Harry shouted, he was cheering for the freedom and unrestrainedness at this moment. Eagles fly in the sky, fish swim in the shallows, and all kinds of creatures compete for freedom in the frosty sky. Zhongqiu, it's beautiful. It's a pity that I didn't choose the magical creatures class. Zhongdong, Zhongqiu, do you want to fly like this too? Zhongqiu, yeah. Zhongdong, leave it to me. Zhongdong agreed directly, and everyone didn't think too much about it. They all knew that Zhongdong and Hagrid had a good relationship, so it didn't seem difficult to borrow a Buckbeak. Draco Malfoy, tisk, what's the point of yelling? Don't be careless and fall off the hippogriff. Harry Potter, don't worry, that day won't come. You should be careful. Think about it carefully. When have you not stayed at Madame Pomfrey's for 10 days or half a month? Malfoy was stunned. Damn, it seems to be true. It seems that I have never been able to spend a year in peace. Well, it must be me on Harry's side. Buckbeak landed smoothly, and Hagrid stepped forward and carried Harry down. Well done. Harry smiled excitedly at Hagrid and whispered, you're great too, Professor Hagrid. The little wizards applauded Harry, and everyone cheered for Harry's bravery. The first person to try something new deserved to be treated like this. But this made one person unhappy. Come on. To read the exciting novels, go to Novel Network. Malfoy pushed away Ernie Macmillan and Terry Boot, who were blocking the way, and then walked towards Buckbeak in front of him with a vigorous step. You're not dangerous at all, are you, ugly monster? Malfoy walked very handsomely, especially when a gust of wind blew his robe appropriately, making every step he took particularly chic. Then, the claws fell, and Malfoy fell to the ground, holding his arm, with bright red blood oozing from his sleeves. Ah! Malfoy screamed, curled up on the ground, groaning in pain, my arm. I'm going to die. You won't die. Hagrid held Malfoy in his arms and walked towards the castle. Get out of class dismissed. Draco Malfoy, ah! My arm. Hagrid. Your stupid chicken actually hurt me. Dad, did you see that? Lucius Malfoy, I saw Draco, don't worry, I will make him pay the price. Cornelius Fudge Albus Dumbledore, I think you saw it. This stupid half-giant and his stupid magical animals that are only worthy of the table should not appear in Hogwarts at all. I apply to expel Hagrid. And execute the beast that hurt people immediately. Roops Hagrid, it's not Buckbeak's fault. It was scared by your son. Lucius Malfoy, so what? A dog that bites a person should be executed for any reason. No matter how precious a magical animal is, it should die if it hurts a person. Could it be that the life of an animal is more precious than the life of a wizard? Lucius' words really make sense. Not to mention the wizarding world, it is the same even in the Muggle world. Are Siberian tigers precious enough? If they eat a person, they will die. And if a person is about to starve to death in the wild, then even if there is a giant panda standing in front of him, he can kill it and eat its meat without breaking the law. The same is true in the wizarding world. But there is a premise, that is. Newt's commander, Mr. Lucius, what you said is indeed correct, but there is a premise, that is, the magical animals must really harm humans, and the scene in this light curtain, seems to have not happened yet. Cornelius Fudge, Minister Fudge, can the content in the light curtain be used as a basis for law enforcement? Cornelius Fudge, of course not. Newt's commander, look, Mr. Lucius, how about, let your son be caught by Buckbeak tomorrow, and then we can discuss this issue. Lucius Malfoy. Let my son be caught? Why don't you let your grandson be caught? Hee hee. If you enjoy the content of this channel, subscribe, like, and comment, to help this channel to grow.